I'm Jordan, your host, and the team Corey, Edwin, and Udon are here with me today. We have a special episode that we'll be discussing our experiences in playing the Halo CE Breakdown, going over basically what we've done, playing the game, experiences, and gripes, just going through with that. But before we do, let's go ahead and start on the tops of what we had done over the week. Corey, how about yourself?
So over the week, I have been prepping for the video format of our podcast, as well as setting up recording things and testing out so I can get recordings from like PS1, PS2, things like that. Played a lot of Final Fantasy, played some Helldivers. Just picked up Peach today, so I'll probably get some play on that and go over it a little bit next time. And yeah, I played Halo start to finish yesterday. So
it sounded like a very pleasant experience.
Well, I mean, I was swearing a lot.
So between the constant swearing and the wishing this was over already, I can tell you're having a really good time.
Well, yeah, and we'll get into that a little more. But yeah, so it's been a pretty busy week for me, just kind of setting up for what's to come for the channel and getting some game time in. So that's kind of nice. Also, I had to buy a PS2 controller because all my damn controllers are dead.
Tears
Edwin?
to my eyes.
Yeah, it was $14.
I thought you were using PS4 for or you're using the actual PlayStation 2.
Yeah, because the PS3 Fat that I have, it died, so I can't play PS2 on it. I can only play. I have a PS3 Slim, but I wanted to play a PS2 game, and of course, because of the way the universe works, everything has to be very difficult. So it's all good now, and it works. So, yay.
Okay, I was confused when you said that yesterday. It was just like, just use your PS4 remote. You're like, oh, you actually meant using PlayStation.
Need the true experience.
The way the developers intended. But
yeah.
What I did like the week is I finished Dead Space, the remake that.
Ooh, did you like that?
Before. I liked it. However, when playing Dead Space again, I realized that it's like not that hard of a game. It is scary, but like it's not hard. It's just more annoying than anything else. I have played Resident Evil 4 remake a lot of times, and I played Dead Space on normal, and I played Resident Evil 4 recently on normal, and Resident Evil 4 is actually harder, while Dead Space is just downright annoying. Like, while they do surround you, it's not as hard to like deal with them. Like, the main weapons that I was using was obviously the plasma cutter, the Ripper. What was the other one? The contact beam, and then I forgot what the last one I was using. I probably didn't use that much. Oh yeah, the assault rifle.
Yeah,
it was like so. Pretty much by the end of it, the assault rifle was completely useless. The Ripper was the thing that saved me the most amount of money and ammo and all that. So it was like one of the best weapons that I used so far. And then later on, the contact beam came in very clutch. But the game was not as hard as I expected. I'm not really sure about the first time that I played it, but it's just my issue with it. It was still a good game, but I definitely would not go back to playing New Game Plus just to complete everything because I did not really enjoy it that much as everyone else. And especially when you had to play like almost 3 times just to finish upgrading everything.
And turn up the difficulty. Do the one where you can only save 3 times throughout the entire game. So you can see how easy it is.
Well, no, it's like I played Resident Evil 4 on every single mode because that's what I had to do in order to perfect that game. But in Dead Space is like even on normal mode is like there was still like some tough parts. Like I had some trouble with the Leviathan, but other than that, it was like the game was not as hard as I expected. I will say it was like probably New Game Plus would be harder because for some reason it just said it was like, oh, new enemies will show up, and then now it's just like the necromorphs show up red, like when they're near the marker. I'm assuming they're stronger, but it's like I didn't really notice as much because the Ripper just tore them to shreds anyway. So it's like I couldn't really tell. I killed them too fast in order to actually tell if they were stronger or not when they turn red.
You got to do. Oh, you're talking about the zombies, right?
Yeah, the necromorphs. Yeah, it was like I noticed it's like when they get near the marker, they turn red, and it's like some of them maybe got a little bit faster, and then I don't know, just all came up in my face. So it's way too close for me to try and test out to not die.
I remember when I first played Dead Space, I did it on the hardest difficulty and did the one gun challenge where you just play it only with the plasma cutter.
Yeah.
I don't know why I did that, but I was like, this is my first experience with the game, so like playing it on like easy and using all the guns, I was like, oh god, I feel like I'm like a superhero.
Yeah.
It was like the things that I found annoying about it is just like there's that one room, I think it's the engineer and the miner room. It's just like that one central control system where you have to like go to 3 different areas and to like activate the thrusters so the ship doesn't crash into the planet. Every fucking time I enter that room, there's 2 necromorphs that always show up no matter what.
Because they're friends.
So annoying. I was like, yeah, it's like the random showing up is like creepy and stuff, but then no matter what, I stand still every time I enter that room because I know shit's gonna show up for no reason. And then those tiny little bastards that pop out of the bloated ones and then just randomly show up, just crawling on you. I was like, Isaac, just shoot them. Stop rolling around on the floor and just shoot. But other than that,
he's terrified.
I got frustrated a bunch. But other than that, I played a little bit of Helldiver 2 with you guys, and then just a Halo yesterday, the Halo CE. We played for like what, 8 or 10 hours, Jordan?
Yeah, then some change.
I was up till 6 in the morning.
It was frustrating. Kind of just stopped. We had just standing in the. I can't remember the level was, but we just kept talking about other shit instead of the game because we died so much, and it was like, all right, we just ended up just chilling, hanging out with our character avatars right there, and we're just talking, and it's like nothing's happening because we just every time we kept walking, we get our shit pushed in by the flood, and it's just like I'm done. Let's just think of something else.
Oh yeah, we'll have to talk about it later, but we found like a little hidden trick for the library that Corey was having trouble with yesterday.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be really
we'll
cool.
Get into that later.
Yeah.
Udon?
Well, haven't been doing a whole heck of a lot. I've been meaning to keep up with the Halo CE stuff. I end up doing all that yesterday because I was doing a lottery event on Fate Grand Order, taking up all my time to farm. But other than that, I really haven't had a whole lot of time to play much of anything else this week, aside from like maybe a tiny bit of Cyberpunk here and there. There's really not a whole lot to report on my end. I'll probably be playing The Witcher next week because it finally went on sale and I can play it and kind of listen to those audiobooks, and I really wanted to play the game now. But other than that, it was just some just playing my mobile games and then playing Halo CE to prepare for this episode and writing all those notes down and whatnot. But so it's probably the shortest blurb I have. I really didn't do a whole lot this week for gaming. So what'd you do, Jordan?
Well, I myself kind of been doing a little bit of, I guess, listening to what we do on the podcast and then just trying to just check them out and see what they are like. For instance, I actually went through with Kingdom Hearts 1 and started up Kingdom Hearts 2 after listening to Edwin about his experiences with it. And I remember playing it. I just hadn't touched it in a long time, so went back and just had those nostalgic feelings just going through, looking at the character design and such. It was actually quite nice. It was funny for me that literally me just doing it myself in my room. Just the characters, of course, all being Disney. All the kids were actually in the room with me, watching me, always looking at Donald and Goofy. So it was kind of fun having a little small audience right there just chilling in with me while I was playing the game. And the thing was also that I really did enjoy was the music, the actual music when you're in these different levels. It was very calm and soothing music, a lot of like kind of like piano and just very easy going. It's not like chaotic stuff happening. The only thing that I did kind of find was a little bit frustrating was just the fighting in it, like when you're trying to target and attack certain bosses. Like there's one that you're in the I can't. It's like inside the whale's mouth for that Pinocchio level. You have to like jump to smack this boss, and it was just very infuriating dealing with that because it was not like a very precise way of doing it. It sounded like they were trying things out as they went, and that obviously you could see in the second one there was actually improvement on it. But dude, it was just that intro, the introduction on both games, 1 and 2. They just those songs slap, man. That Utada Hikaru. Just we walk away. You don't hear me say, please, oh baby, don't go. Like, oh hell yeah, slap that shit. And then we go to the second one, and then it's like that other freaking song too. That's like she's going up that plays that badass like song in the middle intro of that song. Of that, I think it's called. What the hell is it called? I can't remember the name of that
Sanctuary.
Song. Yeah, Sanctuary. There you go. That was also another one. It was like both games had just a great introduction to them, and you could see the difference from the first one. Kind of seemed like you were going through, like almost felt like mission to mission. Like you just went to a next one. Hey, I'm going to do the Hercules mission. Now I'm going to start doing this mermaid mission. All that. You're just back and forth. The second one, it seemed like there was a more in-depth feature now that they had the Organization 13 involved. It was very strange starting out.
Still is.
Yeah, and so Roxas instead of Sora, so it was kind of weird getting used to it, but then you started seeing the designs changing, and it was actually pretty cool. I don't even know the guy that was like, I tried to talk to Edwin about it, but the guy that was like kind of seemed like the leader of the organization, because I'm not that far in. He sounds like the voice from the wizard inside of Lord of the Rings. The Sauron. Whatever. The
Sauron.
Here comes the jumble of alphabet letters for whatever their fucking names are.
Yeah.
Xemnas is the leader of organization, and all their names of the organization.
His face is like covered up in wrapping stuff, and you barely can see his face. You only see his eye.
No, he's talking about Diz.
Okay, Diz, that guy. Sorry. Yeah, his voice sounds.
Yeah, he's not part of the organization.
Oh, he isn't? Okay, well then.
No, he's not.
Well, whatever. The guy sounded like the guy from freaking Lord of the Rings. I was like, dude, this sounds just like him. That's so weird to me. And then on top of that, I kind of wanted to repeat back the last episode. I felt really bad about it because I was talking about how I was really experienced Final Fantasy X and how I liked it a lot, and I said that I did not like Titus's voice acting. I kind of take that back because it was literally when I was listening to it again, it was basically based off of memory. And so I just had to go back and just look at it, and I felt kind of bad because I guess it was true. The only thing that I really remember, and I just assumed that was for the rest of it, was that part where he just has that very awkward laugh that he does with Yuna, and you're just like, what the hell? And he just does it for like a minute straight. But obviously there was some story behind it. He was obviously trying to make Yuna feel better because she was depressed about this whole journey, and he was just trying to make her obviously say, you can do things rather than just cry and be sad. You can laugh. Look at me. I'm going to be crazy. And here I go, start laughing in front of all these people. Like, what the fuck? But, it was actually a fun week. Yes, we ended up shoving a lot of hours into the Halo deal. Kind of was like caught up with a lot of things, so we had to like try to do it in one day, and it was a fun experience. It was a lot of anger and swearing, but that was also for me trying to do other things. But I finally got through it, and then some Helldivers. That's basically all I have. But we can jump into some polls. The first one we had here was, what is your favorite CE Halo weapon? We had the A, pistol, B, the needler, C, the plasma grenade, D, plasma rifle, and the E, shotgun. Winner was shotgun. What do you guys think about that?
Yes.
100%.
I mean, if we're just basing it on, I mean, I like the Needler, but it's only because I feel like I'm basing it off of just like design alone. It's like a unique to Halo kind of weapon. Like no other game has like a weapon like this, where you shoot a bunch of little homing needles and they blow up on someone. The shotgun, as far as usefulness goes, yeah, that's probably the most OP weapon in the entire game.
Yeah, shit was clutch for the library and dealing with the flood. It was just one shot on all of them, even on legendary.
Yeah, it's weird because I think about how often I used it online in like Halo 2 and 3. And it's like, I was waiting for it. I'm like, where is the shotgun? And then it's like, oh, okay, you get it then. Because I was really surprised of how little there were of like Covenant weapons and that there's no sword. And so I was like, where's the plasma rifle thing? And like, you see some of the grunts carrying around bigger guns, but like, you don't get to use them. And so like the weapon count in it is surprisingly low. But the shotgun was just like very clutch. That's all I wanted to use once I got a hold of it. So that's probably why they held it back so long. But I would agree the Needler is pretty dope looking. Like anybody would recognize what that's from because of the design of it.
Yeah.
And the Needler's really cool. However, playing it last night, I would put Needler higher up on the list if that shit actually tracked the invisible elites with swords, because Jordan and I had so much trouble. And then one of the most available guns was the Needler, but it does not track onto cloaked elites, which is just the thing that was killing us the most, because it's just like 6 energy sword elites, and then we didn't have really anything to kill them with.
And wasn't it like this? What level was that? It was like the second or third level. We're stuck in that enclosed purple room, and they just keep coming in and fucking us up. And we were in there for like a solid hour and a half.
Oh, you're
like,
going.
That was the third one.
Pissing me
going
off.
Through the like prison.
Well,
Like,
yeah, we had to break keys out after entering the ship.
So like how you deal with the invisible elites, at least in Halo CE, is that the fact about the invisible elites is that they don't have shields at all. So as long as you have known roughly where their head is, you just bring out a pistol and shoot them in the head, they'll die instantly.
Yeah, I just like gun them down. It was like I realized that they didn't have shields when it was like, oh, my assault rifle actually does something. But because they're invisible, it's slightly harder to tell which one is just a stealth elite and which one is an ultra elite. Because the ultra elite, they don't even get stunned when their shield, I don't even think, breaks when you shoot them with a full power pistol.
Not on legendary, no. The gold elites are basically mini bosses. They use them in the same aspect as like hunters. But we'll get into a more structured scenario here now that we've opened up the conversation. But yeah, so we're going to do a deep dive into Halo CE. We're going to try and do this every month with just whatever game we feel like, theme or not. We just decided that Halo's everyone put out a bunch of stuff, and everyone decided we were going to do Halo this month. Everyone played it, especially relatively recently, and the month-long time period is also to allow everyone time to play it, either play it or at least watch a playthrough of it, to at least speak to graphics and music and stuff if they can't play it themselves. But everyone here played it. Well, not everyone got all the way through. I believe Jordan and Edwin, you guys were on the second to last mission, which is unfortunate you didn't get all the way there. But
yeah.
I think you guys were playing co-op on Legendary. Corey, you were playing solo on normal, and I went through it solo on Legendary. So we have a couple. And as far as like experiences with Halo goes, I'm a Halo nerd, at least when it comes to up to about 4 and 5. I kind of dropped off around there because 343 decided to take Halo and throw it in a dumpster fire. But so I love Halo CE, even though Halo 2 probably has the majority of my playtime, and Halo 3 has even more than that, at least when it comes to the multiplayer. So I'm a veteran of Halo, whereas I'm listening to these guys struggle bussing with Legendary. I just picked it up and got through it in a few hours just because I know exploits and how to deal with everything because I've played through it a million times. But we're going to try and go through this in somewhat chronological order. I have a bunch of notes here. We're just going to take everything level by level, and everyone can talk about their experiences or comment on gameplay design or mechanics, stuff you liked, you didn't like, whether it's subjective, objective, all that kind of sorts of stuff. And we're going to try and just get through level by level and see if we can't get to the end before we're done here. And we're not going to go into a bunch of like meta stuff. We're just talking about like what's in the game. And if anyone wants like lore clarifications, if you care at all, I can probably help a little bit. But like I said, that's a lot of that shit's probably going to be pulled from outside of the game, so it doesn't really affect what the game itself's quality is. So on that note, we'll go ahead and start on the first level, the Pillar of Autumn, and we're going to try and approach this in a fashion that like a new player's like playing the game for the first time, right? We're taking what's in the game and trying to exclude what comes after or outside of it. So in the Pillar of Autumn, the game opens in a cutscene. Big ship comes out of what most people would consider hyperspace. You jump into the system. You're introduced to the UNSC. It's clearly a military ship. The captain of it, Captain Keyes, the AI Cortana, saying that they're being chased by these aliens, and they've came into this system with this big ring-like artificial structure. Shit's going sideways. The Covenant are still after them, and they want to call in their, big boy super soldier, so to get them out of cryo. And then, so we go into first person with Master Chief. The titular Master Chief. Everyone knows and loves the Chief. Which his name is John. John 117 is his designation. He's a Spartan, so he's a super soldier, even though I believe my friend told me that originally they weren't sure whether he was going to be a human or a cyborg. That's why they kept his helmet on. But big old super soldier, because that's a trope of the sci-fi tisms, is that got to have our big super soldiers. And the first thing they have you do when you come out is the little mini tutorial to prove that you are in fact a living, breathing human being. It's basically a version of a capture system where they have you look up and down and left and right.
Select every picture that has a stop.
Yeah. And walk the yellow line.
Exactly. Now, the thing is, all of us and most people who play games are just like, why is this even here? But you have to consider, when this came out, Halo's probably a lot of people's first first-person shooter, for lack of a better term, or at least the first-person shooter they've played that has movement on one stick and controlling on another. And of course, I say stick because most people played it on console. Of course, it was available on PC, which less people would have played it anyways. I feel like more people experienced it just straight up on Xbox more than anything else. So it was literally just there to get people just really quickly acquainted with the fact that right stick makes you look. It's not like GoldenEye or like Metroid where you look and fire, or you look and aim with one stick. But of course, no one had trouble here. Shocking. But unlike a lot of other games, this whole first level, I feel, is really a really good tutorial level, because there's lots of instances in the level that are clearly built to teach you about the game without stopping the entire gameplay with a pop-up being like, remember to press X, or Cortana being like, press A, Chief, to jump. But so after this, you suddenly come under attack and you have to run to the control room. So when you're running there, the game's teaching you basic movement controls. You just control stick to move, A to jump, B to crouch, all that good stuff, while giving you glimpses of the alien threat, which again, at this point, we're under the assumption that the player has no idea who they are. And you can clearly see that, everyone's military, everyone's shooting back with, ballistic bullet weaponry, whereas the aliens are firing back with some sort of weird plasma laser, whatever the fuck you don't really understand, but they're clearly alien. And you get all the way to the cockpit, where you meet up with Keyes again as the Chief. Keyes is like, here's a gun, go fuck shit up. And because you're trying to get everyone off the Pillar of Autumn and into the lifeboats, and you're put in charge of Cortana, who's going to be your backseat gamer for the rest of the game, basically. Now, that all being said, let's just pause there and talk about a few things that was encapsulated before we get directly into the real gameplay. From a storytelling standpoint, do you feel like that this is just like a decent, good, quick setup to get the player like in the world? You know, you're on a ship, there's aliens, and you gotta go fuck them up.
Okay, so Corey will have to go first because Jordan and I have really specific things to say about the first level.
Okay. Well, we're not totally into the first level just yet. I mean, we can jump ahead if you'd like. We'll try and keep this chronological as possible.
Here's the issue. Jordan and I couldn't play the first level.
The Master
at
Chief.
all.
It's because you were playing it together, and so the tutorial doesn't open up multiplayer, I don't think, until after you get down to the Halo.
Okay, so every time that Jordan and I tried to start in the first level, the game would just kick us both out of the session and then just say your game was interrupted. And then no matter what we did, it just would not start. And then it just took forever for it to actually work. And then I looked online and it specifically says that you can't, some missions will kick you out and give you that message if one of the computers is superior than the other. So or if it's like running on like a SSD or something and the other computer is not, something like that. So we could not play the first level. We had some trouble starting the second level, and then Jordan is just like, hey, let's try again. And then all of a sudden the second level onward is what worked, but the first one just doesn't at all.
And I guess something to be said is that we also all played this. The version that we're playing is the Master Chief Collection Halo CE, which is the previous PC version ported over and remastered for current gen hardware, which it itself has a few issues. Whereas I'm not really going to hold your connection issues against the game. If it really is the game, I don't know why, because I play it on the Xbox and I have never once had any single issue like that ever. I'd say it was unfortunate you guys had so much trouble connecting. I don't know if that's the game or if that's Steam or what, but it's
I think it
is really odd.
Yeah, I think if we're comparing it to like the actual Xbox version, that would never have occurred, because I do recall playing the first level. I actually did go back and play it by myself. And yeah, no, it was just a funny thing for me to say, was that you're looking up, down, left, right to get your, basically, do you like this setup? Do you like it inverted, or you like it to be the other way, how you're seeing your screen? And then, of course, going through with just a simple walk around of the ship before you get to that guy that gives you the pistol. And then that's when you basically start learning how to use the weapon. So I think it was actually a very easy way to get you started. Yeah, I don't like it where you're basically stuck and you have a whole bunch of instructions being thrown at you and you're just having to read through all this crap. Rather, this is very simplistic to where you're learning the game and you're also getting experience of the game before you actually get involved. I actually like that.
Yeah, and we'll go through a couple of examples that I wrote down of how the level's specifically designed to teach you these things. Well, like I said, I'm trying to talk about a little bit of like overall things about the game that we'll touch on now, and we'll avoid talking about it more and more down the line. But and again, we're playing the remastered version, but I'm pretty sure everyone here is flipping back and forth between remastered graphics and old graphics.
Yeah, I played it primarily on the original graphics, and so I played Halo at the tail end. It came out in November. It was the launch title for the original Xbox. I probably played it either at the tail end of 2001, because it came out in November, but probably 2002. I didn't have an Xbox when they first came out. I didn't get one until Phantasy Star Online came out, and that's what I really wanted to play. So I think I got one like for Christmas in 2002 or something. So I wanted to play it on the original graphics because that's kind of what I thought would be better for like an analysis on it, because I was thinking of like what was Halo when it came out, not what is Halo right now. And I'm going to use an awesome word, diegetic. The tutorial is very much so. because, he pops out of cryo and they're just making sure that you're okay. It's not like hitting you with Metal Gear Solid type things where it's like, Snake, use the action button. It's, Chief, can you look up at these lights and, make sure that you're working. And then, they kind of ask you, I guess there is one that's like, flip the controls around, but either way, it's not like cumbersome. Like you get through it pretty damn quick, and then you're already hit the ground running to start like learning combat. To that being said, I did start the thing on Legendary, and I remember playing Legendary back, in the original version, and I was just trying to get footage, and it would have just been 2 hours of me dying over and over again because I was just like, what the hell? They just have so much fucking life. And so I ended up changing it to normal because I wanted to get through the entirety of the game so I can kind of understand it more. But the first level is, or I guess the tutorial level is very like a very quick rundown of what you're going to be doing for the rest of the game. And it kind of has a little of everything, except for like invisible enemies I don't think are there. And I think if you play it on Legendary, there's more elites and more. I think they actually have grenades and stuff in the tutorial, but if you play on normal, they don't throw grenades.
Well,
so it's interesting.
It's in the same vein of any game. They're going to introduce more mechanics down the line, but this is just to help you get the basics down.
Yeah.
So as far as graphics go, I felt like the old Xbox graphics still look pretty decent. I mean, they're not fabulous. Yeah. But it's not even like something where I go back and it feels like my eyes are burning.
I mean, sometimes I forgot I was still I forgot I was playing it in the old school graphics because I'm like, oh, this looks pretty good. I mean, some stuff is samey, and I'll get to that in one of the other levels, but it doesn't. It wasn't like shitty looking because the way that it was made, instead of it being like if you were to look back at old first person games, the inspiration for Halo was probably from GoldenEye on 64. And GoldenEye is very hard to look at, and the controls are dog shit. So it's like such a interesting jump in quality when you go from GoldenEye to the original Halo. So I was like, happy to play through the original graphics and not have to really complain too much.
Right. So here's a quick one that if anyone else disagrees on what I'm about to say, I will find you and I will do terrible things to you, like make you go see a Taylor Swift concert. The music is fabulous. Yes, we all agree on this.
Very much. Okay. Yeah. Very much.
I mean, they literally played the theme at the symphony that me and Edwin went to last weekend.
Yep.
And that was like the bonus song, and it was like just the guitar and stuff, like the drums. It's so cool. It's just very immersive, and it's
also unique because there's a lot of drums and like it's almost like tribal-ish music at times for us, especially for a sci-fi franchise, and they kick up with the right up there at the beginning as soon as you're running out before you're running out to go see Keys for the first time, and those moments are built up a lot because of the music.
I even like the ice level. That one snow level is very calming, soothing music. It wasn't even like super epic, but it was very calming. It like matched the scenery, like how you were basically out in a cold area location. It always has that very kind of dark but very calming music that you're just listening to while you're out there and you're dealing with all that shit outside. That was also just all around, all the songs, they matched the levels almost to a T. It was very, very interesting to listen to.
Yeah, so we're all agree. Music's great. Now we never have to say it again. Slightly more controversial, I guess. How did everyone feel about I know that it's Halo. It's not necessarily a hugely story-driven game, but there is a narrative. They give you a reason for what you're doing. How does everyone feel about the voice acting, especially from like Chief and Cortana and Keys, which are pretty much the people you're going to hear talking most of the game? Even Foehammer, if you really wanted to get into that.
I think they delivered. Except for the little robot guy, but we'll talk about. I mean, he's fun, but we'll get to that level. But I don't remember a lot of games having a lot of voice acting. Like Metal Gear Solid, I think had like the most voice acting of like older games around that time. So like it was. I always just remember like John's voice just being cool. Like he doesn't have a lot to say. Like I always remember him talking a lot more, but I guess that was in the later games.
He lets his action
like,
do the talking.
All the other people, like they deliver their stuff as they deliver their lines pretty well. The banter of background people when you're playing is kind of funny because what is his name? The Spanish dude. I don't know.
Mendez.
Just throwing out generic like one-liners.
Yeah, but it's memorable. You remember it. There's lots of like throwaway lines the NPCs will utter that a lot of people don't even see. And of course, everyone remembers, iconic nonsense like wart, 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 and all that other shit. Like the grunts always running and screaming because they're cowards. Like the voices and voice acting in the game is very, very memorable, very iconic. But anyways, so that's a bit of overall stuff.
I mean, maybe you have to turn them on, but I didn't notice any subtitles. I thought I had them turned on, but
weirdly enough, you don't really need them. I have never had a problem like understanding what everyone was saying, like at all.
Outside of probably like for recording purposes, like when we have the video format. But I was like, damn, there's like no subtitles in any of the 8.5 hours of me recording this.
So, well, no subtitles for you. Fucking pay attention.
But it's fine. I mean, basically, the story of the game is watch me die a lot.
So, anyways, so we'll keep this train rolling as we have 10 levels to get through. So the broad overview of this level: after you get the pistol from Keys, you have to go and get on the lifeboats and get Cortana off the ship. That's your job because Cortana has all their vital information stored on her because she's an AI that she can just plug into your brain.
She's banging.
So she's also being able to talk to you the entire time, and this is the start of like her and Chief's like basically relationship at this point, their friendship. So after you get the pistol, you're sent down to like this mess hall area where it's a pretty safe area, again, unless you're throwing yourself in on legendary, because the whole point is that the Marines are there to help the player to fend off the Covenant, which is now you're getting a good look at them. You get a good look at the tiny little grunts and the big tall elites and how their weapons fare. So you pick up the pistol, you get some ammo for it. You pick up an assault rifle, get some ammo for it. You get to shoot some stuff, see how things work, see that the elites have shields, the grunts don't. That if you shoot a grunt, it'll just die, but you have to get the elite shields down to kill them. And possibly the player might even pick up some of the plasma weaponry and start playing with it. Let's see. What else we got here? So a couple examples of how I feel like this first level is a really good example of like teaching you how to play without actually like telling you to do shit. And I think Cortana does tell you like subtly a few times how to approach some situations. But I feel very shortly after this, you come to a hallway where there's an elite with its back to you shooting at some Marines down the hall. And when you turn the corner, you're really close to it. I feel like this is like subtly telling a player maybe you should punch this because then that would teach you that backsmacking an enemy will instantly kill them. Of course, you can't just shoot the elite. They're not going to stop you from doing it. But it was just like this subtle little gameplay setup to try and subtly teach the player how to do that. When the Covenant landing ships are coming in and depositing all the Covenant on the ship, you take them out. But then you look where they came from. You can actually go in the drop ships. And if you go in their little drop ships, each one has 2 overshield power-ups in it. Which, if a player found those, would, communicate to the player, exploring the levels a little bit will reward me with power-ups or maybe even weapons or something. Like, looking around a little bit's going to reward you. And during this entire time, you get into these vent sections that will lead you all over these hallways. But I feel like the point of these vents is that it will lead you into different areas of an encounter. Again, teaching the player that in future combat encounters, you can approach them from multiple different angles from anywhere you want, really, especially in the open sections, because the vents will give you different vantage points on the enemy in order to attack them from the side, the back, or if you just want to charge them from the front, it's up to you. There's another section in a hallway that's barricaded with a bunch of cover that has a bunch of grenades on your side and some Covenant on the other, which again is subtly telling the player, here's some Big Boom. Go throw Big Boom at enemy and see how Big Boom works. And again, this entire time, player might have been throwing grenades, but it's just there for those players who didn't even try and like, oh, grenade, how do I throw grenade? And you figure out how to throw a grenade and see it go boom and kill stuff. I felt like anecdote is that the new graphics, especially in the Pillar of Autumn, have a lot of lore stuff for nerds who like the lore, like Easter eggs and stuff. If you look on the walls and stuff that just aren't present in the old graphics, I just thought that was neat. Um, Such as implying there are other Spartans in Cryo on the ship that are very much alive. Anyways,
Yeah, the only one that matters is Chief.
someone never played Halo 5.
Master Chef.
I did play Halo 5.
Well, then you forgot the entire game.
Considering how the difference in time that I played it and everyone else did, yes.
Let's see.
Wasn't it also, didn't it teach you about the flashlight too? Like when you went in those dark rooms, like you're like, hey,
Yeah,
use the flashlight.
The flash, it does teach you how to learn the flashlight, but quite honestly, after that section of the game, I mean, maybe it's just me knowing where to go, but I never had to turn that thing on ever again. Even when I played it casually, I don't feel like a lot of people use the flashlight. It's a very, like, I don't know why you put this in the game, especially considering every Halo after this it was removed. So it's there if you need it, I suppose. But stuff that I have always noticed, and my friend had informed me of this, is that the pistol and the sniper rifle are the only two accuracy weapons in the game, meaning that they're the only ones that can do headshots. The pistol has this hit scan issue, apparently, where sometimes you feel like you shot an enemy in the head, but all it's going to do is stagger them. Apparently, that is an issue that's the product of this being the PC version that was ported over to both the PC and consoles. So if any of you guys were using the pistol at any point and felt like you were headshotting someone, they should have died and they didn't, yeah, that's just a bug. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. That fucking sucks, especially when you're playing Legendary and you really needed something to die.
Especially when I'm dying a shitload.
Yeah.
It's like, why are they not going down? So
you play through the level, and it teaches you all these things very subtly until eventually you get on a lifeboat. You get a little character from Chief comforting the Marines as they're about to launch off, and this entire time you're getting the dialogue through Cortana. You're getting more reads on her personality. And then you've reached the end and get shot off the Pillar of Autumn in a lifeboat. So from here, I will leave the floor to you guys if you guys want to say anything about the level.
I think that, I mean, the level is short, and it's very good at introducing you to all the little mechanics of like exploring, fighting, like approaching things differently, utilizing different weapons, all that jazz. I didn't really have any problem with any of the jank in some of the controls because you don't really do a lot of platforming in the tutorial area, whereas later you got to jump on stuff and whatnot. But yeah, I think it did pretty well. I mean, it's a good setup to get you like ready and excited for this like journey you're about to take, especially for a game like that really didn't have anything like it at the time, and in a sense was like you said earlier, it was somebody's first PS or FPS game. But it was almost like grabbing a PC experience and handing it to a console player. And, I know a lot of people were like, what? Why isn't Halo on PC? Eventually, obviously it got to PC. Even way before this, it was they made like a PC version. But it was just like, oh, cool. Like, visually it's, impactful, audio, controls. Like it was just a really strong start that I knew that I would enjoy playing it all the way through, because you don't really have a lot of some games like the first level. They're every game the first level is very important, so they really nail it with this one.
I kind of think for that game, that level anyways, for me personally, if you've already experienced playing the game already and you already feel confident, I don't feel like it's necessary to play that level. I mean, that's like how we're kind of saying, it's like that's the tutorial level, basically getting you started if you're brand new, or maybe you haven't touched the game in a long time and you just want to learn all the mechanics. That's a good way of doing it. But to me, it was just like I was actually haven't been able to play it, so because we had to play that second level, unfortunately. Still got to go play the first one. But I myself, if I was to just get myself back into it, I usually skip that one because I already know all the mechanics basically necessary to play the game. So I would just start the second one.
It is genuinely a tutorial level in like the strongest sense of the word. How'd you feel about it, Edwin?
Well, the last time that I played Halo was yesterday, but since that, I
So long
probably haven't
ago.
played Halo for 5 years.
It's
at
like
least.
yesterday.
So- Well, no, it's like but we didn't play the first level yesterday. So before that, probably the last time I played Halo was possibly like 5 years ago or more. But from what I can remember, the beginning part is okay, like the tutorial and the aiming and all that. It does make you think. It was like, oh, is he kind of a robot? But like it does
Mhm.
make sense that you would need like a tutorial on how to play that. I've seen like a lot of old games like having things like that. The good thing is that once you do it the first time, it will automatically skip if you go back to that mission. It'll immediately start with you going to
Yeah.
go find Captain Keys. But throughout the whole thing, it was like you just find like a bunch of enemies fighting all the other soldiers. Just you pretty much just skip the whole thing. But I did like that one part where like it does give you grenades, but it's like right behind a blast shield. So it's like
Yeah.
you throw the grenade, but you can't go towards it. So it's like, all right, here are grenades, and we're gonna make sure that you don't go following it and you don't
Yeah.
blow yourself up.
Don't kill yourself, you dumb bastard.
Yeah, because everything is just one hallway, so
Yeah.
it's really easy to kill yourself with that. But
Yeah.
like
So,
that whole mission was fun from what I can remember.
yeah, it's an enjoyable mission for nostalgia after you've played it one time, as Jordan said. But I felt like in a day and age, well, I mean, some games still don't do that. Like more or less, kind of like how Dead Space, I guess, since you brought it up, will subtly give they'll give you little tool tips, but it doesn't pause the entire game because that game's fantastic UI. You'll just have a little pop up on your hollow thing in front of Isaac, being like, "Hold left trigger to aim." But I enjoy it when games can blend their tutorial in with actual gameplay to the point you almost don't even realize it's a tutorial. You're just playing the game. And I feel like this does it pretty well. Like I said, the player can go completely off the rails and not do what the developers probably intended them to learn or do, but that's just the weakness of it too. Because if you're not going to railroad the player and stop them and shove a pop up in their face, being like press A to jump, who knows? Maybe they'll never press A. But
Yeah.
So not a lot to say about that level. Pretty basic. Gets you going, gets you started, introduces you to the characters, gets you ready to go as far as your controls go. So we'll move on to mission 2, which is called Halo. They said the thing.
Roll credits.
So yeah, roll credits. We're done. So yes, you land on Halo, which no false advertising. The rest of the game takes place on the ring. This is the only level that you're not on the ring. Or the last level is the only level you're not on the ring, to be specific. But so you're in the life pod and you crash land, and because Chief wasn't wearing a seatbelt, he flies all over the pod when you crash land, kills everyone except for himself. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. So everyone dies except for Chief because plot reasons.
Armor.
Yeah. Now, when you go outside, you realize, oh shit, I'm outside. You kind of take in everything, and I again, here's a quick remark on the remaster versus original graphics. The skybox of the original is way more interesting because you can clearly see the Halo ring if you look up in the skybox going all the way around and back down. Where the remaster graphics is a bunch of fucking clouds everywhere and you can't see shit.
Yep.
And it's kind of lame.
Atmosphere.
Yeah. I'm like, fuck your clouds. It's Halo. It's the thing. It's on the fucking. It's what you named the game. I won't look at it. But so when you get out, Cortana's like, "Hey, we need to get the fuck out of here because they're gonna come check this ship." Which they do. A big old drop ship comes over the horizon, and the player can just defiantly stand there and kill everyone that comes off the dropship. It's not like it's like you're gonna, mission fail or something like that. But I also feel like this is also subtly informing the player that there are options if it is open to you to avoid fights rather than actually having to kill every single thing you see, because Cortana tells you to go across this bridge to go around that area to not have to fight the people coming on the dropships. So whether or not the player does that, is up for debate, but so you go over the bridge and there's some more enemies you fight, and there are other things that come, these little plane things called banshees, which is also telling the player there's vehicles in this game. they can aggro to the player even if they walk away, which I think is kind of lame because I think the whole point is that they're looking at the crash, but then half the time they'll fucking find the player no matter what you do anyways. But because the Halo's still not a stealth game, so you have to deal fighting a Banshee with an assault rifle, which is not fun, especially on Legendary. So you might have to deal with that. And you go over the ridge, you get to this tower, find some Marines there. And you have to rescue them. So basically, this is the first of what I called the hold your ground segments, because this is something that comes up a lot in the game, is these sections where it's basically just defend this spot, hold your ground. So you and the Marines have to defend the tower from a couple waves of Covenant coming off drop ships, and this is also at the time you're introduced to Jackals for the first time, which function differently than Grunts and Elites, as they have like this Roman fucking shield that they put up in front of them that seemingly is a lot stronger than the Elite's personal shield, but the whole point of it is you're supposed to shoot what's exposed, either their foot or their arm, to make them stagger and then pop them with a headshot. And you're introduced to like the I don't think you've ever got the Needler on the first level. Does anyone remember the Needler on the first level?
I don't think so.
I think the Grunts might drop it.
I remember it. It was like Jordan, when we went to that first base later on after the crash site, all the Grunts were only dropping Needlers and plasma pistols, and I know I used the Needler because oh, finally a Needler.
All right, so either way, so the Needler isn't new. I thought it was. Maybe it's just because I kind of ignored it, but anyways. So what's fun is that you're supposed to protect these Marines, but they can't all die, which will actually end up prompting different dialogue from Cortana afterwards. So they plan for this contingency. Either way, once you're done defending them, a Pelican will come down, which is your introduction to the character Foehammer, which you never actually see, but is nonetheless very important within the plot because she's basically your homegirl, ferrying you around in her Pelican all the whole entire game. And she brings you a Warthog, which is the first vehicle that you can drive that you're introduced to. UNSC Jeep thing with a big turret on the back, which is way more fun in co-op because when you're playing single player, you either driving it and you can't shoot it and you're relying on the dumbass Marines to shoot what you want them to shoot, or you get on the turret and relying on the dumbass Marines that got his license out of a Cracker Jack box to get you around.
I didn't even know that they drove it. None of them would get in the driver's seat.
Maybe this is me and my mind getting infected by other Halos where they definitely did that. But either way, single player, it's kind of lame because your only realistic option is to drive it. Way more fun in co-op. It's a great co-op vehicle. But and maybe it's just me, but vehicle controls in this game kind of suck ass. Because it feels like every single fucking vehicle is sliding on ice, whether it actually is or not. So when you're driving the Warthog, really annoyingly is that sometimes you have to be looking where you're going, and they did improve this with later iterations of Halo. But in Halo CE, I genuinely feel like driving vehicles is like tangentially fun. It's mostly a chore, especially when it gets to like the Ghost and the Banshees that handle even worse than the fucking Warthog does. Out of all of them, the Warthog does handle the best, but it's very slidey, it's very unresponsive, and it's very hard to get up to speed, and it's just really aggravating sometimes.
Takeoff is painful as shit. Especially fighting Wraiths, you're like, fucking go, and it's like, give me a minute. Now I'm gonna go.
Yeah. And by this point, I would feel like a player would be at least trying to experiment with Covenant weapons at this point. And at this point, you should be learning that plasma weapons have a noticeably way bigger impact on shielding, and then your bullets do way more to just straight up flesh. So you're kind of learning this balance as the weapons go and learning each weapon's like place in the game, how the pistol can overcharge, which is something that the Jackals do to you constantly. So if you haven't figured out you can do that with the pistol, as soon as the Jackals start doing it to you, it's like, oh, can I do that? And you realize the plasma pistol can overcharge and just blow an elite shields up and immediately with one shot. Which is interesting a way, especially because it's the Jackal's way of saying fuck you, but you'll learn it's like, oh, that's something I could do. So you take the Warthog further into Halo, go in this little section where you activate a hollow bridge, and while it's not super important, I don't even know if I would consider this even more like subtle learning, but it is telling you that you can interact with panels and stuff, and you're going to have to do that a lot throughout the game to like use elevators and bridges and shit. But you activate a little light bridge in this Forerunner architecture, this like other alien civilization, as you're trying to track down other Marines that got scattered from the Autumn. You go through there, and then now in this more open section, what's really fun about this mission, I feel like this is a lot of people's like favorite mission, is Halo, just the second one. Not only is it really open as opposed to the Pillar of Autumn's like all enclosed section, so there's like way more things for you to do, like way more options open to you. This section with the towers, it is completely up to you in what order you do the towers in. You can do them in any order you want. And on top of that, whether the Marines live or not does not matter. They could all die and you can move on. In fact, that's the speedrunning strategy and what I do when I'm playing, so I don't have to fight a bunch of shit. Especially when you're playing on Legendary. So here's a pro tip. When you do this mission, when you get there, kill all the Marines and fucking leave, because then you don't have to do anything anymore.
Yeah, Jordan and I did that, but not on purpose.
And it turned really bad. They fucking learned out these guys were doing some fucking tuck and roll shit, shooting us with a rifle. Like, you sons of bitches.
Yeah, so, but again, what's fun about that is that if they all die, Cortana will tell you, they're all dead, Chief, and she'll call in Foehammer and say, we don't have anyone for you to pick up, move on to the next one. So you don't have to stay there. There'll still be enemies spawning, but what's the point? You just leave and go to the next one. But how you're supposed to do it is that each one of these sections is another hold your ground segment with the Marines, and all of them have different variations of inclines and how the towers are placed, and they all have different theaters of war, for lack of a better term. And whatever the last one is, because there's 3 of them, when you get to the last one, once you're done fighting off the Covenant, Foehammer comes in and picks you up and the level's over. And just as like a side note, there's a fun thing happening while you're going around shooting stuff. Cortana this entire time is like feeding you the story essentially in the background, telling you what happened to Captain Keyes and what happened to the other survivors, what she's doing, picking up on Covenant chatter. She's basically feeding you the story in the background as you're doing something entirely different, because what's happening in that story is not, obviously relating to you right this moment, instead of having to dump all this on you in a cutscene, so you already have it on, have it in your brain, what's going on in the background, because she's setting up what you're going to do in the next level when she's telling you all this. Let's see, any other notes here? Nope, I think I covered it all. So, what is everyone's feelings on the second level of Halo? How did you all experience this?
I mean,
I guess I can.
Yeah,
or,
you go ahead.
Jordan, you and Edwin go.
Okay, all right. Well, me, the whole opening thing where you got to see the Halo and everything, that was really nice. It was just trying to get around from space to place to place when you're out there with those warthogs, like how you did say, it was quite painful. There is a lot of times where I almost felt annoyed to the point where I would just jump the warthog into a group of Covenant and just throw them off. Unfortunately, Edwin would be the gunner, so I would just launch his ass in there with the turret, and then I would just start taking people out. I think we jumped that rock that we had in that one group maybe 15 times. I know you got tired of it, and I just started to launch you specifically in there because I was just like, fuck this, I'm sick of this shit. I just threw you in there. And then that's when, of course, you run into the hunters on that level too. You ran into the 2 pair that were a pain in the ass.
Wait, I think you're getting confused between the 4th level, the Lost Cartographer.
Yeah, you're getting confused because the hunters appearing happens in the next level. For the first
really?
Time. Yeah,
okay. Well, other than that, I mean, it was definitely an eye opener for me. It was definitely fun to see that you're finally getting yourself started in a group setting where it was like all open after you were being, secluded in that one small space, which again was a tutorial. So it was a really good feeling to see that you were constantly opened, and now you're basically free to do as you please out there in the open, as long as you have the right weaponry to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we were playing. Okay, go ahead. Well, Jordan and I were playing together, so I thought I'd go next. But there's that mission is fun. However, like the slowest part of it is just the beginning part, where it's like it is quite a long trek from the crash site to like the first base where you regroup with everyone, and then you have to defend it to get your first vehicle to make everything like not take forever on foot. So there was like a lot of empty spaces like between each base that you had to go to, which is probably like the worst part of it. Is just a ton of driving.
Well,
Um, it
I would say that in your first point, bringing it to the first tower, it really isn't that far. You go over the bridge, you fight one group of enemies, and then by the time you go over that hill, you're right there. Probably takes you about, if you're gonna walk straight there without dying 100 times, would probably take you about a minute.
well
And
on legendary, it's like you want to try and run past and not die a few times, or do you want to like do your best to not die and still lose a ton of health, or do you
yeah,
just suck it up and then fight the enemies and then try not to die from the banshees specifically that are
and
hard to
there
hit.
are things in like that open space between the towers because there are like crashed lifeboats around there that you could find, and you could find like sniper rifles, ammunition, health packs. Like there is stuff around. Again, going back to the point where they're trying to teach the player that a little bit of exploration will go a long way, essentially, in helping them.
Yeah, well, I was playing with Jordan, and every time we got a vehicle, he was always driving. So
So it's
I
Jordan's
was
fault.
just
Got
shooting.
it.
Well, he'd just go around, and it's just like I'm not sure if this is the right direction, but I'll let him drive.
Yep, let Jesus take the wheel. And I just let go and just let it drive itself. Like, Ghost rod that whip and just drive your ass off into some Covenant. Let you handle the rest.
Yeah, right off the waterfall is what you did. But like every other part, like there is a lot of enemies. Like there was one part where we already killed a few soldiers, so they already turned they thought we were betraying them, so they were also shooting at us. But there was one part where we just kind of gave up and killed the soldiers off rather than protect them because they were shooting at us. They didn't care about us. But that it's like where all the round rocks are in that enclosed area. It's just round rocks everywhere, so it's like a lot of cover for both you and the enemy. But it's just like it did not feel like that fight was ever going to end because the second we finish one group of enemies, just another would show up, and it's like how many dropships are going to show up? This is taking forever. And then eventually we just went after the soldiers instead because they were shooting us with sniper rifles. So it's just like this is like empty spaces between, and then fights that would go on for a little longer than I would want. But other than that, it was a decent level it was a decent second level for being an open area as opposed to the really enclosed space that the first level was.
Yeah. What do you think about it, Corey?
So, basically, it's like it is a nice like contrast to the like corridors that you were in, and now it opens up like, hey, check out how big this game actually is. Knowing that moving forward, I feel like it's the biggest level in the game that has more like most like of the traveling because you're going around looking for the other like Marines. So it's a little like it's not misleading in a sense. Like I felt like I was going to have like a lot more larger levels that are open like that, but most of them after this they're expansive, but they have these very like direct paths where this one is kind of like go around and do all these things and drive around. And it's very empty. Again, though, I'm playing it on the original graphics. Like I'd swap between just to see like, oh, what'd they do? Oh, it's kind of cool. There's the nature looks really nice, and it's kind of fun to be in this place that it looks like you're strolling in like the mountainous area of like middle America kind of, but you're on this giant spaceship thing. So it's like I forget that I'm not on Earth when I'm standing on Halo. Like that's kind of the point, right? Is like this thing is so massive, and it's pretty like I enjoyed the level, but it's definitely not like my favorite one. It's not overly complicated to kind of navigate. It's just more of like more just organic level design than it is the like tight hallways that you're typically going to see in first person shooters.
Yeah, I think as far as like overall size, I do think that Two Betrayals slash what was the first level? Because Two Betrayals is like Not the silent cartographer. Assault of the control room and two betrayals, I believe, are bigger in size, but they are separated by like really cramped hallways. Like this is probably the biggest open world, quote unquote open world. I hate that term, but it's the most open area in the game. But again, I think it's also, like I said, it's to help contrast between that and the last level being like there's also going to be big open sections we're going to go through, so be ready for that. I feel like if there's any, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say in like the enemy diversity is kind of nice, where it's like, you know, you get to experience like fighting like the way that they approach you with like bundles of enemies is like, you know, here's a bunch of grunts, you know, here's a couple elites, here's a couple elites, jackals, and, or, you know, and like two little grunts that throw grenades, and like so it kind of spices up the combat a bit, so that you know that each experience that you have is going to be different. Mm-hmm. That is until all the bullshit later in the game, of course. But it was like, you know, I was trying to, you know, save everybody I could and everything else. So and you know, because I was running it through on normal, I was trying to get like the base experience of what like Halo would be. So I would like get into these combat moments and then like, you know, it wouldn't linger because of like, oh, I have to wait for my shield to recharge and stuff that much. And so it's a level that has good pacing for what you're doing, so that it's, you know, you're going over here, you're saving these guys, you're in a firefight, and you never feel like you're in the same place for longer than you need to be. So you kind of absorb the level at like a good rate. Whereas later levels, you do feel kind of like you've been here before, and that's probably due to the limitations of when the game came out, of course. So, and I'll touch on that when we get to those levels. But
we'll get to that, because you're not wrong. There's plenty of reused assets. In fact, 2 of the levels of this game is basically just you running through the exact level, but just in a different fashion. All right, so yeah, that's Halo. I think it's one of the levels that if I went back just to play one specific level, that would probably be pretty up there for me. Just because it's pretty open-ended, you can approach it in different ways. But yeah, pretty good level. I think it sits in a lot of people's memories as like the quintessential Halo level. All right, level 3. We're doing good. The Truth and Reconciliation. So, during the entire last level, as I said, Cortana's feeding you the story as you're going around shooting dudes. And she basically says that Keyes survived. He crash landed the Pillar of Autumn on Halo, but the Covenant captured him and a bunch of other Marines and are holding them on the ship called the Truth and Reconciliation, because the Covenant like their fucking weird names. So now your new mission is to infiltrate this. Well, you're being on the offensive. You're part of a team sent to infiltrate the ship and rescue Captain Keyes, because, you know, he's your commanding officer. He's alive, and you want him to tell you what to do. So you start this mission with a sniper rifle, which you did have access to a sniper rifle in the last mission if you found it or you took it off of a dead Marine, but they just straight up give it to you this time. And fun fact, this sniper rifle actually has like vastly increased ammunition compared to any other sniper rifle. Like you have a way more extra ammunition that you'll never be able to get to another sniper rifle. Like it goes beyond the sniper rifle ammunition cap, so they want you to play with this. So this is another really fun level, especially when it comes to approach, because you get to pick how you open up on the enemies, because you're doing like this stealth ambush thing, and you have a bunch of Marines to back you up. And there's like 3 or 4 little areas that are before you reach the actual place where you get on the ship. Which again is just another fun aspect of being able to show the player and how Halo exceeds in like setting up these scenarios. Like they'll be the same every time, but how you approach them and how they play out is going to be different based on how you're approaching them, right? So that's what gives these games have a lot of replayability, I think, specifically for that reason. So let's see. Yep, several encounters, blah, 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 blah. Oh, I did think another annotation about the remastered graphics. In the original graphics, this is an area at night. Like, it is nighttime. There's not bright anything. There's no sun, nothing. So you're infiltrating and attacking them at night. And it's very dark in the original graphics. Turn on the new graphics, shit's bright as fuck, and it kind of ruins the atmosphere.
You find in a lot of the a lot of the levels too is when you change it over to the remastered version, everything is just like illuminated.
The remastered graphics have a lot of lighting issues, and I felt like even though the remastered graphics look good, the lighting ruins a lot of shit. Especially this level specifically is really bad.
It's kind of like look what we made for you.
Yeah,
so that's why, because they're not going to hide it in the darkness. We spent the time and made all this shit. I'm going to make you look at it.
Is this the one with the you got the sniper rifles, right? This is the one like you're on the side of that.
Yeah, I said you spawn at the beginning with a sniper rifle. Yeah. Like I said, this is like a special sniper because they load you up with. They basically give you a cheated sniper rifle because you have so much extra ammunition that you'd never be able to get otherwise. This is the only mission where you get that from.
And that was when I also found out that has actually night vision on those damn things. I didn't even know that thing existed. I was like fecking with it, and I was like, oh shit, night vision kicks on. I was like, okay. It was definitely necessary, but for the like you said, for the remaster,
I did not know
that. You don't need it.
Yeah, they does have it. In fact, I think if you listen to Cortana, like let everyone talk, she or Johnson tells you have night vision to use it. Granted, it's not a very useful thing because I feel like even in the old graphics you can see just fine. Especially considering in, like I said, other iterations of Halo after this, they removed that feature, so it was just in this game specifically. So about three little encounter scenarios you get through. We're not going to go through every specifics, otherwise we never get through this. We're just hitting on the highlights. So you get to this landing pad. So there's like this little tractor beam thing. It's a grav lift connecting the ground to the top of the ship. And this is an almost reverse hold your ground scenario where you're still fighting in this one area, but you're fighting waves of enemies as they come down this grav lift, which if you know when they're coming, you just throw grenades on the grav lift and watch them all die hilariously. But
or just sit in a turret.
Yeah, just sit in the turret and just lay waste to everything.
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
The one let's see, Marines offer fun dialogue, but we've already been over that. Oh, so this is where you're introduced to hunters for the first time. So the last thing you'll fight before you actually infiltrate the ship is that these two big hulking brutes come out in big old armor and stuff. And there's two of them. They got big shield arm and a big fuck you fuel rod cannon on their right arm. And under most circumstances, they provide quite a challenge because they're basically invulnerable from the front. The only part of them that is vulnerable is their tiny little backside that you have to get around to look at them and put bullets into them, throw grenades, what have you. But that's the only part of them you can hit that'll actually do damage. The problem with this is that I believe this is a glitch and they just never fixed it, or if this was intentional, I have no idea why. But if you have a pistol, and I believe it also works with a sniper rifle, but I know for a fact it's the pistol that really makes it stand out. If you have a pistol, does not matter what difficulty you're playing on, you can shoot the hunter once in the back and it will die immediately, which kind of ruins the entire tension of having this big hulking brute come out. If you shoot it once, it just falls over.
Yes, he's dead.
Yeah. So it is a cool moment in the right circumstances, but because of how this game's coded, you can inadvertently, unintentionally ruin it for yourself and every future encounter once you know that exploitation. Really good to know when you're playing a legendary and just want to get through it, though. And just shoot them immediately and they die. So after you clear them out, you and whatever Marines you have will infiltrate the ship, where you go up the grav lift, and now you're in a real hold your ground scenario as you're surrounded by doors that will randomly spawn, not randomly, but periodically spawn enemies for you to fight while you're holding your ground in this hangar area. Also, your introduction to the energy sword and invisible elites. And I believe on Legendary and stuff like that, this might be your also first gold elite as well. And you've already learned at this point there's like blue and red elites, and you've probably noticed that different colors are different difficulties. The average player will notice this, where blue is the easiest, red's harder, gold's fuck off harder.
Actually, depending on the graphics that you're choosing. So I know like the more or less the ranking of the elites, and it kind of goes off from the Halo 4 like elite design. So if you put on the new graphics, it'll change the once orange elites into white with like blue lights on it.
Yeah,
and those are invisible. So it's like depending on which graphics you're playing on, the elites change color.
Yeah, and it's harder to tell on the newer graphics. Again, something I feel like the older graphics did better. You're able to very quickly look at the elites and identify what color they are and what kind of threat they pose to you. So that's another mark against the remastered graphics. Not to mention when they reworked how the elites look, they look like shit. Um, they ruined my boys. But after a few more waves, you'll find another pair of hunters, which if you already realize the exploit, you're just going to laugh at, shoot, and move on. Then you fight your way through the ship. A notable scenario is that when you go into their hangar bay, where all the dropships are, that's probably the first time you're put in a really disadvantageous position because of all the Covenant that are on the upper rafters, meaning this scenario is actually really difficult sometimes, especially on Legendary, because they have a lot of cover being on the, Obi-Wan's not fucking around when he means he has the fucking high ground because that shit's advantageous as fuck. So this area can be quite annoying sometimes, especially on harder difficulties. I know for a fact myself, I really don't like this area on Legendary. It's a pain in my ass if you don't have any precision weaponry, if your sniper rifle's already dry by this point. So you wake your way through this area, and you finally get to the holding cells, and you find Keyes, and he's still alive, he's still kicking. And for the last section of the level, this turns into an escort mission, which is fucking awful, especially on Legendary. Even on normal, it's a pain in the ass, because now you actually have a fail condition that's not you dying. If Keyes dies, and Keyes is not a super soldier, he is a mortal man, and he is very, very stupid. Because he will throw himself in line of fire like no one's business. So yes, now you have to escort Keyes. Granted, the distance itself is not that long, because you only have to get back to that hangar bay I was just talking about to get him on a dropship and get out. You don't have to go all the way out of the ship. But it might as well be fucking 20 miles for the amount of shit you have to take him through, because now you're back in tight corridors, and they're going to continue to throw more energy sword elites at you, which again, at this point, the players probably figured out that's a one-hit KO no matter what you do. If they get up in your face, you are going to die. So yeah, there's not much to say about that other than I fucking hate it, especially on Legendary, especially solo on Legendary, because at least on co-op you can exploit it a bit because Keyes is only going to follow one of you. But yeah, you have to get Keyes out of there, and after that, pull your hair out segment of him just throwing himself in every conceivable way to kill himself possible. It's literally like an old cartoon of like the person sleepwalking through a construction yard and someone's trying to save him. But you get back to the Spirit, you get on the Spirit, and Keyes pilots you out of there, and that's Truth and Reconciliation. It's different, especially in atmosphere, because you start at nighttime and there's like this stealthy-ish approach you have, but otherwise it's a pretty cut and dry mission, other than the Keyes thing being thrown in as like a curveball there right at the end, and only a handful of new things were introduced. But what did you think about it, Jordan? We'll start with you. What did you think about this level?
It was different. I mean, I personally was kind of running through with what I could with Edwin, but I mean, Edwin, do you have really much for this one? I was kind of a little bit different on this one. What about you, Edwin?
So, on the graphics alone, obviously, as Udon said, if you go to the old graphics, the level is dark as hell. But in the newer, it is helpful in a way, because in the newer graphics, there is a lot of bushes and floral stuff on the ground compared to the first one, where it's like hardly anything. So it's like easier to like see everything like behind the bushes and all that. So it's easier to spot an enemy from a distance to snipe at. So it's more on which one you prefer. I just went for the new ones because it's just brighter, so it's easier to see. But later on, if you do try and use the gunner seat, you might as well go back to the older graphics, because the bloom on the plasma projectiles of the gunner is so goddamn bright you cannot even see what you're shooting at.
Right.
You just have to trust that the red reticle, because that's your only thing that's going to help you to see. It was like, are you aiming correctly? But after all that, that whole level was kind of annoying, because as you also said, is like they give you like an oversized sniper rifle with like 64 bullets or something. But on co-op, if one of you dies and then respawn, they don't give you that back. You have to go find it. And like I said, there's so much there's so many plants and bushes on the ground, it's going to be hard to find it. So anytime I was looking for it, I had to go back to the old graphics just so I could see my goddamn sniper rifle on the ground just to get it back.
Fucking lose that so many damn times. Yeah. Fucking every time you get blown up, you're like, okay, and I got to find my body. And you're like, where the fuck is it? There's so much goddamn bushes.
Yeah. When, like, after all like the so-called stealth stuff, you get to like that gravity lift, and then there's that part was a lot longer than it should have. I think it's like 5 waves of enemies and then the hunters.
Yeah, it's quite a few of enemies. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you get the pistol at that point. I don't remember ever getting one, because when you die, they always revive you with a plasma pistol and an assault rifle, and that's it.
Yep. I hated
so if you lose the sniper rifle, you're gonna have a tough time with the hunters.
Yeah, they are beefy boys. If you don't know the exploit, they are genuinely what they are to be, which is basically they treat them as essentially mini bosses, is how they basically use them. So
yeah. I was like, well, after that, we finally got up to the elevator, and we were stuck in that room with
several
the
attempts.
elites and the energy swords for an hour, because it was super annoying, but it was pretty funny, as they just seeing each other's camera after death and spectating. It was like, there's an elite behind you, but every time you say it's too late because too fast. But when you get to Captain Keyes, we didn't know that he only followed one of us. I didn't realize until after freaking Keyes died like 4 times to some random elite in the corner of the room that we didn't see. And then I realized, like, oh, he's following Jordan. So I was like, I'm just going to go over here and kill everything. You hide back there.
Yeah.
But it's a fun mission, despite like the flaws. But that's mainly in co-op. But it's like it was still a fun mission.
All right, what about you, Corey?
It's definitely one of the missions that I think about when, like, I think back to playing Halo. Like, it's just a very memorable one to me because it's like there's a lot going on because of the night scene. You're sniping, you're fighting, you're getting onto the ship, and like I always think back like to that mission. And I don't think it's like terribly long. It is a very like funneled mission, of course, but like it's scene to scene events that take place are like very entertaining because it's like the ship looks cool, you know, it's like, oh, it's a Covenant ship. The night scene is a nice contrast to the mission before it where you're in the middle of the day. Granted, the stealth options are kind of pointless because it's not a quiet gun, so you're just basically going, all right, which one of them am I going to kill first before they all start shooting in my direction?
Yeah,
so I always would just
pseudo stealth.
Yeah, I'm like, because you know Cortana will be like, all right, Chief, you know, plan what you're going to do. I'm like, well, they're all going to know as soon as I kill the guy in the turret because that's who I'm shooting first. And then, you know, whoever climbs in it after, I'm going to do it again. So
yeah,
the way I approached it mostly was kill the turret guy, run to it, and then shoot everyone else, and then do that until I got onto the ship. And it is a very fast mission, but it was just cool because the one before it is very, you know, drawn out, exploring, and this one is very literal. So
yeah, it's very linear.
It was you know, go do the thing, and then you're like, okay, and it just it was good because the combat was like very close to you all the time. Instead of like you being able to like run away, you know, it's just you have to deal with this problem. So, you know, the game is kind of ramping up the difficulty here on any of the encounters that you get into. And when I remember seeing a hunter for the first time when like I was younger, being like, oh shit, you know, because they looked so cool and they're just so big compared to the other guys. But yeah, knowing that they have an off switch is kind of like, I would just go dance with him until I was behind him and then shoot him, because it's like, well, I'm not like, you know, when I was younger playing it and being like, oh my God, he's so powerful and crazy, I gotta keep my distance. But now I'm like, well, I better get down there before he kills all the damn Marines. Or the other reason for me to get close to him is so he doesn't shoot that stupid green laser beam at me or whatever and blow up the thing I'm sitting in. So
yeah.
Yeah, you just kind of kite him into a corner where he does the jump, and then you just kind of jump out of the way and land behind him, pop him in the back, and then move on. But it was a fun mission. I definitely, it's probably one of my favorites in the game.
Yeah, it's a pretty memorable one, and it's a fun co-op mission. I feel for some reason because you both get cool sniper rifles, and like I said, it's definitely it's pseudo stealth. They just kind of pretend it's. In fact, I even feel like Cortana Johnson says something like, "All right, take the first shot, Chief. Then we'll follow up." Like they're not really expecting you to be like, go super covert stealth on this, but it's like because every section you get, you basically get that shot essentially. Like it resets every time because the enemies are so far apart. But all right. So narratively, you've just rescued Captain Keyes, and now you're like, well, what do we do now? Well, in the last mission, when you rescue Keyes, he goes off telling you basically he overheard some Covenant talking about what they're doing. They're trying to find this thing called the Silent Cartographer, how Halo's a weapon, how finding the Cartographer will lead them to Halo's control room and they can use it as a weapon. Don't ask me how the fuck he was listening in on their alien conversation, but whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
they're totally speaking English, and I heard everything they said.
Yeah, or the fact that he can drive one of their spaceships, which is also total bullshit, anyways.
Yeah, that was kind of. He's like, I got this.
Because they even had the reason why you could have flown out of there. Cortana interfacing with it could have easily been that. He's like, nah, I got this, son. And he just flies it out of there. I'm like, cool. That doesn't make any sense.
Where are the keys?
Yeah, where are the keys? Oh, wait, I am the key.
So when you do this.
We're saying a manual, right?
It's like, sir. It's like, I'm really tired of hearing that joke. So now the next level, the Silent Cartographer, as I just said. This has my least amount of notes, basically because it's a pretty cut and dry mission. And there's not a lot either narratively or not a whole lot of new stuff really comes with this mission. Just a few things to point out. So it is another open-ended mission, much like the second one, because you're just sent to find the control room, which the whole level's basically just like a giant circular island, essentially. So it's not really like you can get lost super bad sometimes. So you get dropped off on a beach in this big assault. You're surrounded by Marines. You're storming the beaches against the Covenant. It opens up this big-ass fucking gunfight. And then afterwards, you're dropped off another Warthog, and you load it up, and you have to go look for the control room. And under normal circumstances, how the level is supposed to be done by people who don't know how the level's supposed to go, you'll find the control room, and you'll fight your way in there, fighting your way past some hunters and some elites. Then a gold elite with a sword will lock you out. So now you have to go find a way to circumvent that. So you leave, and eventually you'll make your way to the center of the island, where you'll find a different area that has basically the unlock switch. And you unlock the door and have to go back to the control room, and now you're in there, and now you have to go all the way down the control room to get to the cartographer. You activate the cartographer, then fight your way all the way back out of the thing you just went to, which is our first example of them kind of reusing the same fucking area, just in backwards motion. If you haven't caught on yet, there's a lot of back and forth in this level, which is kind of annoying. But you fight your way all the way back up and out, and Foehammer picks you up, and you descend into Halo, into the surface of Halo to start the next mission. But to go over a few things, so for people like me and probably a bunch of others who already knew beforehand that the Elite is going to lock you out, another fun thing is that you do not have to do that first. You can go right to the unlock switch and basically prevent him from locking it in the first place. And Cortana even has unique dialogue that is associated with you doing this. You just kind of randomly find it, and she's like, oh, this isn't the control room. What is this? And you look at the thing, she's like, oh, this is some kind of locking mechanism or whatever. Well, when I fix it now, they're not going to be able to lock us out now. Basically saving you the trip of having to go to the control room first, go there, go back to the control room. You just go there first, then go to the control room and keep going down.
Oh, fuck. That would have been nice to know.
So,
I had a pretty funny experience because of the backtracking.
Yeah, so there's a reason I was able to do this much faster than you guys, is I'm just a fucking I'm a fucking gamer. No, I just know all the I just know all the
pushes
fucking exploits.
Up glasses.
Yeah, you fucking gamer, dude. I know all the fucking shit. Trust me, on the library, you think I played through that shit? I know speedrunning tech. I just fucking walk past everything. Fuck that shit. I'm not playing that.
Yeah,
anyways. Yeah, we'll get to that. So, and yeah, this is our first example of like this backtracking thing that they'll do a few other times in the game where you're going to reach a point and it's like, all right, next thing, do everything you just did, but in reverse order. Kind of annoying. So I guess we'll just keep going like Jordan, Edwin, Corey. So what did you think about this level, Jordan?
Well, again, like you just said, the backtracking, it's 100% a guarantee on my part that I experienced was you basically do like NASCAR around the fucking island to finally get to unlock the damn door that was fucking locked to begin with to get downstairs. So, I mean, yeah, if I could have been able to unlock it and not have to do all that, that'd have been great. Because, yeah, it's like, oh... Okay, where do we go next? We got to unlock. That's gonna be on the other side. Okay, got it. Now, oh shit! Now I got to turn my ass all the way back around and get back over here and deal with some more of this painful fucking. It's the Covenant to me were just very annoying because I just fucking needlers, man. I can't stand the goddamn gun. Just fucking shoot it around a corner and it gets me and then I'm done. And then of course, then I'm like, okay, now I gotta throw in the bait. Okay, I'm just gonna throw Edwin to them, and then I'm going to snipe them.
Throw Edwin to the wolves.
Look at him! Look at him! Yeah, look at him! Look, shoot your gun off, Edwin. And he's just like shooting his and it's just like, oh no! And I'm like, I got this. And so I just start throwing grenades, and then sometimes I get him, but there's respawn. So he's Edwin. I get Edwin sometimes, yeah. And then he'll be like, yeah, but he'll be like, how did that happen? And he's like, must have got me from like a grunt or something. I don't say anything. I'm like, yeah, maybe.
You got some good aim.
Yeah.
How they get on the back of my leg is amazing because they're fighting me from the front. For some reason, they got to wrap around my leg, but whatever. That one again, that was another. Those are the levels that I really did enjoy. Was those, even though it was the backtracking nonsense, I did like the open world ish kind of deal because again, it was just like you're out there, you got the warthog, you're seeing all these people joining with you in battle. And of course, you're going through and battling people in an open area versus you're very condensed and enclosed. I don't really like those battles because obviously you really don't have much to work with. As at least for this, there's always giant rocks, there's buildings and such that are kind of in the way when you're going up to those top caverns to get downstairs. You can kind of use almost everything as like a shield to block you, and I always like those type of battles. Edwin.
Mm-hmm.
So the Lost Cartographer mission is probably my favorite and the one that I've actually played the most because the first time I was exposed to Halo CE was in middle school because every freaking computer in the entire school had that game's trial on it. So I was like, but that was like the trial mission is that one mission. So I just constantly played a ton. It was like, oh, I want to play Halo, and then it's just a demo, and then that's the only mission that you can play. So it's like that's probably my favorite mission throughout the entire game because it's not super large where it's like a lot of driving like in the second one. There's like not that many empty spaces. It's just like almost an enemy almost around every corner and there's a lot of them. So you're going to be pretty busy. And it's not so much back and forth. It's just like, oh, you go like a quarter way and then you backtrack a little bit just to unlock the door after it's closed. And then you can go all the way down to the basement of that area and then go back up. That's like you'll only go backtrack as twice essentially, but it's just in the same area, more or less a different route. But it is a good level, and I like just using the warthog and getting it to places where it's not intended, and then just using the gunner seat to kill everything easily.
Not being used as bait is always a good thing.
Yeah, I caught on to that, and then I started jumping off the rocks. I started jumping off the warthog onto the rocks. So he's just going to keep doing this over and over again.
All right, Corey.
Okay, so this level is much better than Halo. I like the visual. I like the visuals of it. Like I like the driving on the beach and everything else. I think the backtracking is fine. It's to me, it's just like a richer level because the original Halo level, outside of remaster stuff, is very empty. So this one felt more like just immersive, and combat and whatever aside for this mission because it's pretty cut and dry where you just kind of go do the thing. The only memory that I really have of this mission is that when I was playing this yesterday, I was driving the Warthog, which is really squirrely, and I rolled it like I turned and missed like just barely. The back tire came off of like one of the platforms, so it started to flip. And the guy, one of the Marines, is like, "Oh no!" And he gets out, and then he falls, and then the truck lands on him. And I was like, "Dude, no, don't do that!" So then he dies. I was like, "Great, I lost one." So then I'm doing the run back, and then I pick up some more Marines, and I swing the truck back through that place, the same place, and I do it again. And another Marine gets out of the car, lands on the old dead body, and then the truck kills him. And I was like, I'm worse than the Covenant.
Fucking tack that shit off on your neck. It's like 2.
Stop dropping people here. Just stay in the damn car.
So, I mean, I think that speaks to, like, we get a bunch of laughs out of that, right? That speaks to the strengths of the, like, Halo's, like, sandbox approach to stuff. Like, just weird shit like that can happen, you know?
Yeah, because it was just, I'm like, no, not only was it, like, the same thing happened, it was in the exact same spot on the last time I did it. So it was like...
Last time on
like,
Halo.
Oh, yeah. But, you know, to that being said, like, that one's not so bad. It does happen to me again in, I think, the next level, where I fell off of something and didn't die, and I'm like, fucking damn it. Now I have to walk all the way back up there. And it's, that's the part that really kind of blows. It's just kind of like, oh, great. Now let me just start from down here again and walk my ass up there. Because this one was just like a little walk-up ledge, and I was trying to do the thing everybody does with, like, can I fit the truck inside the hallway?
Yeah.
And so naturally I ran over everybody that's standing in the front door, and then I get out and climb over it. But yeah, so it was fairly a fairly cut and dry level. Not a lot of complaints. It's just funny.
Mm. All right, so yeah, that was probably when I had the shortest amount of notes on, because just like I said, not a whole lot to say about it. It's just a good level, you know. Thumbs up. All right, so now that you have the silent cartographer, you know where the Halo's control room is. You're gonna go to Halo's control room and use the weapon against the Covenant. So, assault on the control room, level 5? Question mark.
This is where I start hating the game entirely.
So yes, I would agree to the point that this is probably one of my least favorite levels. So let's see. Yes, so this is the first time that I felt the reusal of assets was getting egregious, because there's large sections of this mission, and granted, there are outside portions, but the inside portions are just these copy-pasted hallways and rooms that get really boring really fast.
The Elden Ring catacombs.
Yeah, exactly. Elden Ring catacombs. It is really annoying. They're good for one romp through, but then you quickly realize that you have to go through it again and again and again, and by the time you reach 2 betrayals, you're doing just this mission again in the opposite order.
Yeah, god damn it. Yeah, we'll get into that one. That
Yeah,
has some fun in it.
After going through a bunch of rooms, you do enter out to a snowy field, so your biome has changed again. We're in like this Arctic area. Big open area where you're gonna. I think this is the first. No, I don't remember if you see ghosts in the last level. This might be the first time you see ghosts, but it's definitely the first time you see Wraith tanks as well. So this fully completes the Covenant's armada of vehicles, because now you've seen Banshees, ghosts, and tanks. And uniquely, I've always liked their design with alien stuff, because it's always a little bit different. Their tank is like a mortar launcher, as opposed to, you know, the normal UNSC tank that's a tank that we would understand as
literally pushing their shit in because our tank rocks.
Yeah. Tank beats everything. So this is an area that a lot of combat's optional. You can run past a lot of shit because of how open the area is.
Yeah.
And so very quickly after you get out of those interior rooms with a bunch of scenarios of combat, which I don't think are very memorable, you're not introduced to anything new. You've basically seen all the enemies at this point. They're just being thrown at you in different variations. So you get out of the open field, you see ghosts, you see wraiths. Once you get past that section, you are given the Scorpion tank, which is, again, rounds out, I think, every vehicle you're able to drive. So the Scorpion tank, while being super powerful, still drives like shit. And the accuracy is if I was like blind and cross-eyed trying to shoot a fucking barn from like 18,000 miles away with a fucking slingshot.
Facts.
Yeah. The accuracy of the tank is terrible. When it hits stuff, it does a fuck ton of damage, but the problem is hitting things.
It's really good at getting everyone sitting on the side of it killed.
Yeah, yeah, it's really good at that.
Shockwave.
Another thing is that it, like the Warthog, it only moves in the direction you're looking, so you can't move in one direction and aim in another because then
absolutely insane.
So if you want to do that, you have to stop entirely and rotate your camera, which also means you're a sitting duck because you're not moving. But the control, like I've said before, the vehicle controls in this game are kind of bad. They're really annoying. And the tank is no worse for wear, despite the fact it is invincible. You're not, but the tank is. Don't know how that works. But it is fun to blow shit up because when, like I said, when you hit stuff, it dies. So it's just the problem is hitting it.
And it has a machine gun. It has secondary fire.
Yeah. So you get through a section where you just get to play with the tank and blow up a bunch of shit. But you will be eventually forced to abandon it. And you'll get a chance to get on a Warthog, but you can also choose a Ghost, which is your first time to choose a Ghost, which is just like a Warthog, but somehow worse. At least you as a player have the option to shoot things while you're piloting it. It's like the Covenant's fast, scout vehicle.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed, of course, but that's just a product of its time, is that I don't think you can steal the vehicles in this one.
No, there is no hijacking. You have to either kill them while they're on it without blowing it up, which is really hard, or get it before they jump in it.
It's a dated thing, of course, but like the Ghosts would be swinging through, and I would just be like, okay, I'm going to grab it, and it just runs me over. I'm like, I guess I can't do that.
Also doesn't have boost,
the green guy just stands there.
He just stands there. Like braced, like come at me, and I come at, and he dies.
Like, maybe I don't want to run into that green dude. If he's that confident, he's going to catch me.
The demon, he's just standing there menacingly.
Yeah, menacingly. So I will point out one scenario that I think was really cool. You'll reach a point where there's two bridges that are parallel to each other, both filled with Covenant, and you have to fight your way across one of them. But the one on the other side also has a bunch of Covenant in it. And the one that you can't get to has hunters on it. So they found a way for hunters to blow you up with their big Furod guns without you being able to really shoot back at them, because they're not going to present their backs to you. They're just going to look at you from the opposite end. So it's really interesting having to fight your way across this bridge while also having to take into account the fire that's coming at you from the opposite bridge.
Fuck those bridges.
Yeah. It's aggravating when dying a bunch of times. I just think design-wise, it was really interesting because it made the hunters a much bigger threat without making them a joke if you do their exploit.
Two betrayals, though.
Yeah.
Fuck those bridges.
So
you were listening to me for about an hour.
Now, personal note of mine, which we'll talk about now. On this level, I was very far into it. I believe I died on this bridge as I was going in because I was being stupid and I was just trying to rush inside and I was not being careful, and the sword elite inside was like, oh, well, I'll cut you. And so I was like, all right, cool, whatever. It's going to put me back at the beginning of this bridge. I was thrown all the way back prior to getting the tank when you first go out into the snowy field. That was like 15, 20 minutes of progress. I had no checkpoint. So let's talk about the checkpoint system in the game. Some of the times it works, all the time. It just kind of decides where your checkpoints are based on how it's feeling that day.
Yeah, I think that was most of the complaining I was doing last night when we were all chatting on Discord while Edwin, Jordan, and I were playing. Because I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. I have to do this shit over again? I just cleared this fucking room. And it would just be like, I don't know, just... It's so stupid because it's like I do the thing, I hit the thing, and then it says loading, and I'm like, oh, it's a checkpoint. No, it's not. It's just changing the instance of the enemies to save, the system's runtime, because I realized everything that chased me in the hallway disappeared, and then I'm like, where are they? Oh, they're all in front of me now. Right when I open the door. But I do like the fact that there's sleeping grunts on the bridge, so you can walk out and just kill them, and it's like, oh, that's kind of neat. It kind of gives them a little more personality, but... When we get to two betrayals, I got a lot of bitching.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, I don't blame you. I don't like two betrayals either.
Oh, God.
This whole level is bullshit.
The checkpoint system is really very sparse.
It's moody.
It's like, what the fuck do you mean I have to do this again? Because it would literally be 15, 20 minutes, And I'm like, okay, fine, game. You want me to kill everything in this room? I'll do it. I'll fucking do it.
But only to prove its nature. When I almost stopped right there, and I was like, I can skip this mission. I play this game 100 times. I'm like, no, I'm gonna play through it. And I go through that entire section. I'm getting checkpoint every like 3 minutes. Like I got like 4 or 5 checkpoints, but for whatever reason, me during that last playthrough, I had no checkpoints that entire time. But upon dying and going through all of it again, I was getting checkpoints everywhere. It is a really fucked up and moody system.
Okay. It might either be different in co-op, or me and Jordan just didn't die as much in that section you're talking about, because we didn't have that issue. But before going on the bridge with the hunters on the other side, we did die more times on the previous bridges because we were being shot from above and below, I believe. And then we didn't realize that, the glass below us can shatter, and then there's enemies down there that can shoot us from below.
Like, come down here, boy.
But it's like the hunter thing, I don't think we had that many issues. I think, Jordan, you survived because you were trying to fight the hunters and I was trying to fight everything else, but I was rushing in as usual. So, probably, so you were probably safe in the back trying to kill the hunters, while I was up front and getting shot at. So I was just respawning behind you because you were in a safer area.
So yeah, checkpoint system, total bullshit. One of the weakest points of this game because of how iffy it is.
I did realize while I'm going through so many of those hallways that every time the loading showed up, Jordan would spawn right in front of me because it's co-op.
Yeah,
so like pull whoever's behind you forward.
Yeah.
But I realized that, this is like a loading wall. So if you go back a few steps, it will do the same thing again and teleport whoever's further from you. So I will constantly went back and forth between that loading wall, and then just made Jordan feel sick because he kept teleporting back and forth.
Here's something I don't think anybody's mentioned, but was anybody skull hunting?
No, I've done it before.
I saw one. I did see one. I did see one. In the entire game, I found one fucking skull. That was all I could.
Did you find it on the Halo map at the waterfall?
No, I found it inside of the. It was going through those fucking hallways or some shit in the snow level. I think I found one in there.
Is that new to this? Because I don't remember the skulls being.
I remember seeing that at all in the original.
I know that they're in Halo 3 because I remember hunting for them on the playthrough, but like I don't think that they were in the original, but I'm not sure.
I feel like they were, but it's like each game has like their own skull system. You have to like either find them just like that, or you have to end the mission with them in hand in order to.
I have my computer right here. Let's find out. What does Google say?
Google's never wrong.
Google has never been wrong once. The internet is the truth.
Skulls added to Halo C, because I generally don't know either.
I mean, I wasn't necessarily hunting for skulls. I just know that they were there when I found one. I was like, oh, because like I don't remember doing that when I played.
Yeah, 3 skulls were since added to Halo Combat Evolved. A popular Halo 2 innovation was the addition of skulls. So it started with Halo 2. So I'm guessing the original Halo, there was no skulls.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, it's in this game? All right. But I wasn't like looking for them, so I just found one and was like, I wonder if you guys were doing that too or not.
No,
but,
I just came across it one
I've already
time.
found them.
Melee kill.
Okay. Anyways, we're almost done with my things, and you guys can talk about this level and bitch. So besides that, there's a bunch of copy-paste, really boring scenario rooms. And then you're going to get to a natural bridge. One natural bridge, it's like a rocky outcropping when you come out to a door. Now, the idea is to fight your way across the bridge and get to another door and fight your way down, then up, because if you look left on this bridge, you see the big-ass place that's the control room, this big like tower-looking thing with a bunch of layers on it. So, from the person who understands how to play this game up and down's perspective, when you come out, you will notice that there are banshees sitting on the bridge that are unmanned. They're empty. There are a couple of elites right there that once you start fighting will typically jump in the banshees and start attacking you. However, if you stand in the doorway and use your sniper rifle and blow the fucking elite to Kingdom Come, you can run past everything, grab the banshee, and just take it to the top of the tower and skip the rest of that shit going down and up and have to skip. all of that,
God
and you
damn
can
it.
just skip going directly to the door and jumping out of the Banshee and just getting to the door and fighting what little bits left there and getting to the end, which is what I did. Because, like I said, I know they came backwards and
Motherfucker.
forwards.
Oh, Jordan,
Every
don't know
time
what you're
I shot
complaining
them,
about. We
like
can
one, the
never
other one would
survive.
immediately get into it. So I was like, shit. So
Yeah,
what I ended
then
up
you
doing
shoot
is,
them. You have to keep killing the elites as they're making a beeline to it.
We just had
yeah.
to
Well,
fucking
the other
untake
thing
it.
is I had the rocket launcher, so I just shot the Banshees. And it's
Yeah,
like, fuck
which
you
is an
guys.
option. But so, like
Yeah.
I said, but that's again a strength of the sandbox nature. You can steal that Banshee. You're not even supposed to really be in Banshees at this point in the game, but you can skip like a solid 15-20% left of the level just by jumping in the Banshee and going directly to the top of the control center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit.
I feel like every time I reveal something like that, everyone else here groans.
Jordan, I don't know what you're moaning about, because like we spent like maybe 20 minutes on that bridge because we were trying to steal a Banshee and then we die every time.
You just gave
Like,
the
I don't know what
fucking
you're
Banshees
complaining about,
away.
'cause we
Just
couldn't
like,
even steal the Banshee.
right, well, we tried, but it was just like, just fucking let them take them. They can have the
He's
goddamn
telling
things.
the Banshees
Yeah.
back to the
These
Covenant.
guys
Like,
go
"Passing the things on
take
you."
those. Yeah, I'll get the Scorpion.
So, anyways, so you get to the top, and there's a couple really good fights when you open the doors, just fighting into the hallway. They throw a lot of Covenant at you at this point, and more gold elites and stuff, more vehicles. But eventually, you get your way into the control room. You put Cortana in the control room. She's like, "Oh my god, it's so awesome! It's like fucking AI orgasm." And she starts learning something, which at this point in the game doesn't really. She could have easily just spouted everything to you right then and there, be like, "Halo's a weapon; it's meant to kill people. We shouldn't activate it." But no, all she says to you is, "Fuck, stop the captain." Chief is like, "What? Stop the captain? What the fuck are you asking questions for? Stop the captain!" And Chief confusedly runs out of the room because his woman's telling him to go do something.
Take out the trash.
So. You leave Cortana there, and now Chief's by himself for the next few missions. So you get back to Fohammer, and now you have to go find Captain Keyes, whatever he's doing, apparently, which I guess he was supposed to. He and a couple Marines were going to this other area that's supposed to be like a Covenant weapons stockpile or something like that. But so the game is taking like a really sharp turn now, because now it's like you got to the control room, but now you're doing something else all of a sudden. And that's basically the end of the level. So again, we'll start with Jordan. What are your thoughts on Assault on the Control Room?
That was kind of where I was just like, when I talked about like the music was all sweet and dandy, and I was like, oh, I remember this level. I fucking hated going to those goddamn bridges. It's just like, fuck me. These things are here on this one. What was I smoking? But I was just like, I couldn't handle it. It was pissing me off. We ended up getting to the point where me and Edwin were basically killing each other because he didn't appear in front of me, and then I'd appear in front of him, and then we just started doing that karate chop action, just like fucking pistol whip and killing each other because we're just getting bored, getting murdered. We're just gonna kill each other. This is more fun because we're just like getting sick of this shit. But it was like, okay, now I feel empowered. I got a fucking Scorpion now. All right, let's rock this shit. And then Edwin's like,
far away from this.
yeah. Well, Edwin was doing his thing, like hiding in the bushes or some shit. And I was like, all right, I got this. So I just started shooting my shit out there and, basically blowing shit up. And that was funny. It was just like, Edwin would be like, okay, I'm going to go run out here. I'm going to go attack these fucking little pain in the ass Covenant guys are in the corner. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to hit the race from a distance. And he'd just be getting mad. It's like, why are you fucking trying to shoot them from a mile away? You're not going to hit them. And I was like, no, I got this. So I just kept shooting. You just see this fucking missile hitting everything but the Wraith until I just got tired of it. And you just see my slow ass fucking just pulling up to hit the fucking thing, because it was more faster for me to literally go at speeds of 5 miles an hour to get to my target rather than trying to snipe them. So I would just be like, I'm just going to basically park right in front of the son of a bitch and take a shot. And then that's basically what we do. And then you would pretty much with that level, if I got the ghost, I would try to find ways to fit that fucker into any small nick and cranny I could. I would even try to shove that shit into those small rooms before you get to the bridge and just shove my shit in there and just kill everything by running them over because they have no space to get out. And so I would just be fucking trying to find anything I possibly can because, god damn, man, it was painful points where you're just like, we're trying to get off these high-end spots. We're trying to jump into Banshees, and they don't want to give you the Banshee, so you just let them have the Banshee and just fucking just deal with walking your ass up a shitload of floors to get where you need to, because you're like, you know what, fuck this, they can have it, I don't give a shit, I'm just gonna fucking Flintstone my ass up these steps then, I guess, because that's all I can think of at this point. But when you got to those big open areas, before you get to those shitty ass fucking bridges in those small enclosed rooms, I definitely enjoyed those big open spots, especially when you had that, you got the tank and then you had that bridge that was inside of a room that you open this giant door, and then now you have this giant bridge that you can go across to get to another side into this other room. And Edwin running there, and I was like, fuck this, I'm just gonna park the tank right here and just shoot everything on the other fucking side and blow everything to Kingdom Come. The hunters and everything just fucking fly, blowing them out of their boots and everything. I'm like, and that's what we just handle it that way.
Get some!
Get yes, fuck you! And I'm just
Tank
like, holding down.
Roast.
And the funny
Tank
part,
beats
yep. And
Tank beats everything.
and it's just funny that the things don't run out of bullets, they don't run out of fucking missiles, so I just go ham all goddamn day. So, I mean, that's what I had to say. What about you, Edwin? I bet you had some gripes.
Fuck that whole mission. I hated all of it. So like the only parts that were actually fun is that you gotta go through that shit twice, and then the only fun part is just the open snow area, because the closed, like, constant repasting of rooms is the worst part of the entire game. So it's just like it's not any easier. Like, the small rooms are just constant 6 rooms.
Jordan.
No talking. I'm part of this.
Shut up, Edwin.
We've heard enough.
Off with his head.
It's like so many of those copy and paste rooms. I was like, oh, finally open area, and then like those parts are hard just because there's so many vehicles, and like the ghosts, they're like really hard to shoot the driver out because it like perfectly fits in to like the ghost shape. So it's like they're always pointing at you, so you can't get to the side of it in order to shoot them off. So it's like, well, you got to destroy the ghost then, because you got no other way. And then it's like it was on legendary, so like all the vehicles take heavy damage even from like the singular grunt. And then eventually it's just like on that whole part of Jordan just trying to snipe like that one wraith off a cliff, I was just trying to see if I could take on a wraith myself, because I know they don't have a turret.
Oh yeah, you're standing on it, smacking it with a fucking pit with your weapon. I was like, what are you doing? I was like, do you want me to just shoot it with the scorpion instead? I think I could kill it. He's like, no, I got it. He just starts fucking beating it. He's like, you might as well. I'm out of shells on this fucking gun. And he jumps off, and then I take it out. But it was just like, he's pistol whipping it.
No, it's like I tried to take on a wraith because you were taking too long killing the other one. So I was going to try and take on this one. So I used up all my bullets, and then I started punching the thing. It was like, I can't kill this thing by myself.
Fucking road rage.
I was like, I didn't move. I was like, you might as well just kill me with it, because I'm out of bullets. So it's like, just end us both. And then that's exactly what he did. But it was like, those were the
no
fun
fucks
parts.
given.
Yeah. But other than that, I just hate this square room and then the constant hallways. It was just terrible. That's like when I was like, at that point, it was like, Jordan, it was like, can we just skip this level? I don't want to do this anymore.
All right, Corey.
So this level I don't have that much of a problem with. Once we have to run this level back and they have everything else going on, I just felt like the game was stacked against me. I would say that I'm very partial to like snow-based levels. Like, I just think that they're like visually interesting.
I just think they're neat.
I love them.
The
music and everything.
Yeah, I like I would change it to the updated graphics, and I kind of like the atmosphere in this one, like the snowing and the fog and everything. Like, it looked like it's really nice setting outside of the like horse shit, of course. But inside of this level, really kind of like started to push me into the like complaining due to being spoiled by modern gaming, but not as much as it starts here, and then it really ramps up as we go. But Master Chief is very clunky. He's very heavy, but his jump is really floaty, and I feel like you do that a lot more in this specific mission than in the other ones. When you really start to notice, it's like like, damn, man, I'm getting caught on all types of shit. Like, I'm trying to hook the stairs because I'm running up, but my collider is catching on like something that's 1 inch tall, which modern games would be like, oh, that's not high enough for you to stop moving. So we would know that you're stepping over this thing. But for this being like, probably very precise collision because of like the type of game it was and when it came out, I would get caught on stupid shit all the time. And then I started getting killed by stuff because it would just be like, I'm backing up and I'm caught on like a rock that's really small. And so I'm like, why can't I back up anymore? He's coming. And then I would just get killed. Or like a grenade would land near me and I'm trying to run away from it, but there's no sprinting in this game. And so it's just be like, I'm trying to like, he's not as agile as modern gaming. And so it's kind of like, you're moving as fast as you can when you're walking, and that's, there's no run. Like, that is his run. You can move slower by pushing the analog not all the way forward, but there isn't any like, sidestepping, which I understand why there really wouldn't be, because it doesn't necessarily fit. But like when you jump, it's almost like he turns into Kirby. And so you're like, shit, I've jumped this direction. I can't change my direction midair, and it's really slow. And I don't know if it's like, insert lore gravity reasons on the Halo here, but
that's how they programmed it. I can't help you there.
Yeah. I'm just kind of like, God, he controls so shitty, and like I didn't really notice it until I have to really start moving more because there's more enemies now. I do like all the vehicles. I'm at this point, it's kind of interesting to know that the roster of equipment is so low. Granted, this is the first one in the series, but it's like I've experienced every weapon that I have, like every weapon this game has, except for the shotgun, because they're saving that still. But I find myself running out of ammo a lot. And I also found myself running around. I didn't even know there's more than 1 bar of health because I don't know where the fucking health packs are. So most of the time, I was basically almost dead except for my overshield. And it was just kind of like, where are the fucking pickups? Because I don't know where they're at. And I'm just dying at checkpoints and having to do shit all over again. The bridge for this one was not necessarily that big of a deal. I feel like it's more handled in a foreshadowing way, because it's like, when you do this again, it's not going to be easier. It's just going to be bullshit. And again, we're 2 levels away from that one. But visually, this level is really cool. It really starts to let me know how terrible Master Chief handles when I'm controlling him. And that's about it.
I like how Corey, every time he says something, it's like, remember, 2 betrayals. I'm gonna go fucking nuts at that one. It just keeps mentioning 2 betrayals over and over again.
It's coming.
Yeah. All right, so we are now at 343 Guilty Spark. What?
No.
What is it?
I was like, doing 2 betrayals.
2 betrayals. Now we're doing. I'm just gonna jump ahead because I'm curious. No. 343 Guilty Spark, which, honest to God, I think is my favorite level in the entire game, if not just because of the impact it leaves on you, especially initially when you first play this game without any prior knowledge going into it. So immediately, as we just said, Chief is being sent by Cortana to find out where the captain is. You have to stop the captain from doing something because Cortana wanted to play the, ambiguous game. So you get dropped down, immediately tonal shift like completely, because you're in the middle of this like really misty, dark swamp. The music is really like subtle, and it's really already setting you up for like this almost like pseudo creepy atmosphere, like completely different from anything you've experienced in the game so far. And you're going through this forest, and you're finding some scattered Covenant. Just a couple grunts, a couple jackals here and there. No elites. They're scattered. They're not like organized as they have been. Let's see. One fun thing. I mean, we're not going to beat around the bush. This is where we first encounter the flood, right? But a fun Easter egg is that it's easier to see them on the remastered graphics, but there are Flood in the forest that will run around, and you can see them early, but they'll just run away from the player. They're just there to be like silhouettes in the fog.
Life, that lives there kind of thing.
Yeah, so they are there, and if you see them as a player, like, what the fuck was that? So you come upon this entrance, and a bunch of jackals and grunts are fleeing the structure with a bunch of UNSC gunshots coming after them. So, and they won't even engage you. You can just walk past them most of the time, because at some point they will stop farther down the line and start shooting at you. But so you have to go into this area. There's just this one big central elevator that you go down. You go down the elevator. This is where I feel like they had fantastic environmental storytelling, because, again, at this point, you don't have Cortana in your head. You're just there as Chief. No one's, like, talking to you. You're just observing everything as the player, and Chief doesn't, like, comment on it on his own. So as you go in there, you'll still find a couple jackals and grunts here and there, but you're soon finding, like, corpses of jackals, grunts, elites, even a couple UNSC members with like blood everywhere, a bunch of overturned like Covenants like turrets and weapons scattered everywhere. Like they were in a fucking fight here for something, you know? So there was things being like turrets and stuff that are pointed inside as opposed to outside, like they were keeping something from attacking them that was coming from the inside rather than the outside. And you don't have anyone telling you this. You just observe this as a player, which I think is fucking awesome. So eventually you're going to get to the ground level of this facility. You open a door, and Chief catches a corpse of a Marine that falls out. And he looks inside the door. All the Marines are dead. But one of the Marines had a recording device in his helmet that the Chief takes out and starts watching it, which launches you into another cutscene of you viewing this like inside Chief's helmet. This video recording of Johnson and his crew and Keyes coming to this place, pretty much finding everything that you just did, like a bunch of dead Covenant. They're wondering what happened to them. They get to this room, and then suddenly they're attacked by these weird, bulbous, fungus-looking alien creature, and that just completely overwhelmed them immediately. And it's really fun because at this point, the player's realizing, shit, I'm in that room. So the video cuts when the Marine gets attacked by the creatures, and you realize as a player, it's like, fuck, I'm in this room. You realize the door's locked, and now the game's going to take this 90-degree turn that like Halo CE is like known for. This is, obviously when we're introduced to the Flood, which is a completely new faction of parasitic alien life forms. So they lock you into this room where you're being attacked by these infection forms, which, again, on the surface aren't that bad to deal with, but they send it to you in giant waves because, they're so weak that if your shields are up, them jumping at you will just kill themselves. But if your shields are down, they're basically an instant kill on you. So they are assaulted by this for a few minutes. And then the door behind you is eventually going to open, in which case you're going to be introduced to the combat forms, which is like the infected versions of elites and humans that these infection forms have burrowed into their bodies and took them over, and these horrible zombie things, and they're just going to charge at you with their little vicious whip thing, like whip claws, and just start smacking the shit out of you. Also worth to note, as Corey said, that's the next level. Anyways, sorry, off track. So you fight through the combat forms, and now it's just like escape is your only objective marker. It's just escape, and the music starts kicking in like then you like this fucking like this survival instinct mode. Let's see. So now, unfortunately, as it is, you do have to backtrack through what you've already been through out of here. It does change slightly because you can't backtrack like one for one where you are, but now you have to fight your way through to this new enemy that is relentless, charges at you. Like they don't use cover, they don't use tactics, they are just single-minded aggression incarnate. And not only that, as you get further into the structure, you realize they can use weapons, both Covenant and human weapons, and God help you if they get a rocket launcher or a shotgun. And speaking of shotgun, this is the first level and the last level that you get a new weapon, and the last level where you're going to get a new weapon, which is the shotgun, which is probably the most overpowered weapon in the entire game. It's great on Flood. It's great on Covenant. It's great on basically everything but a tank. Yeah. So you'll fight your way through this flood, just completely different, like I said, completely different kind of, even completely different mindset. Because even when they have weapons, they'll still just charge you wildly firing. As you're opposed to being used to fighting the Covenant, who will take cover, keep their distance from you and shit, while the flood just charges you. And it's just this huge tonal shift that I think is fantastic for a game like this that I love so much. So you fight your way out, and you get your way all the way to the surface where you reconnect with Foehammer trying to call for a pickup, and you find some spare Marines that are managed to survive and lead them out into the forest where you're still being assaulted by flood all the while, and you find a big structure to meet Foehammer at, and then you're gonna have a mini hold your ground segment here until eventually you're gonna see some laser beams in the darkness, and some weird robots start coming out and start fighting the flood with you, and eventually you're gonna hear humming, like really awkward and out of place, and eventually you're going to be approached in a cutscene by this little blue ball robot looking dude called 343 Guilty Spark, that basically just spouts off a bunch of lore nonsense that isn't really supposed to mean a lot to you or the chief, because he introduces himself like he knows you and you know what's up, and he's like, quick, I need your help, we gotta go get the index because the flood's getting out of control. And chief's like, what the fuck? And he's like, teleport jutsu, and you both teleport out of the fucking swamp while Foehammer is wondering what happened to the chief. This is a lot of lore and a lot of story that happens in this mission as opposed to a lot of the other ones, but it's done so well. And like I said, in a game like this where it's usually so cut and dry for first person shooter, it's fantastic to see this crazy new enemy introduced out of nowhere that behaves so differently to the Covenant. As it's so much fun. But what did you guys think about this level, Jordan?
I was actually, to be saying the truth myself, is that, yeah, when I was playing through Halo, even if it was back in the day when we first started playing it, it was a very big open eye for change, as in, like, you were constantly dealing with Covenant. You were getting kind of bored of it. You know, it's the same thing. I'm fighting the Jackal, I'm fighting the Grunts, I'm fighting the Elites, fighting the Hunters. Okay, it's the laser guns. It's like all space. I'm like, okay, this is kind of getting dry. So, like, when you finally get to this spot, it is a huge, giant change for the better, because, again, it's like, it's all futuristic sci-fi, and now it kind of almost turns to, like, horror almost, because it's got these crazy parasitic things that are taking over things' bodies and using them as weapons, and they're trying to basically, trying to stop them from overtaking everything that they basically go to. They're just a giant parasite, and that part was, to me, was cool. I did like that story, how it started, because now it was like, okay, now I'm going to be introduced to new enemies rather than it's just more of the same Covenant over and over. Like, they just add more and more. It was a completely different change of a different team of Flood, and I thought that was kind of cool. Now, I don't know if anybody else is going to have this for me, but my experience of it was in that level specifically, when you're fighting the Flood and such, and you're going through those rooms. I don't know, maybe I'm blind, but I was kind of experiencing it that going through each of those doors, they almost all looked the same, and it was kind of hard for me. I'd end up going through a room, and I'd be kind of like, where do I go next? And I'm like trying to go through, and it's almost felt like a maze. And so I was just,
I will admit
that
that is a weakness of the level. It is easy to get lost. It is I will fully and completely agree to that. It is easy to get lost in that level.
Yeah, but I mean, like, seeing that there was these different monsters, and now that you're seeing that there's people that are using your own weapons against you, that was actually a very cool opening. And again, the shotgun, I really did enjoy that I finally was able to have that in my hands and watch it do work on these fucking things. But it was cool to see that there was a strike of fear in a team that was whooping the Covenant's asses, to find out there's something that they now fear that could possibly be the end of all. And that was kind of a cool thing to me to see, that there was actually something that could possibly be a huge challenge, rather than you're just dealing with these Covenants that were just annoying. Now you got these things that could possibly just be something that you might not be able to overcome. And I thought that was kind of cool. Edwin.
All right, Edwin, go on.
Yeah, that mission, it's a good mission. It's just getting lost was really easily, because, as Jordan said, it is all the doors were the same, and it's like I don't know if it was like a graphical issue, but there's like 3 lights for each door. There's like 2 on each side and 1 in the middle. But a lot of doors, it was not the doors that actually open are like all the lights are green, and then the ones you can't open, all the lights are red. but for some reason, some of them were mixed. So it's like two of the lights were green, and then one of them was red, and then the door just does not open. And then some of them, they were just broken open. So like you didn't realize like, oh, that's where the flood broke through. It's like that's probably where you need to go, but you're just swarmed by the flood. So it's like you're not gonna know where they came from because there's just way too many of them.
Mhm.
But when it comes to the flood, there's like that's where the assault rifle does work because it has the longest clip and it does help a lot with like the tiny ones.
Oh, yeah.
The ones that actually affect everything.
They're just infection forms. They're pretty literal in their naming. But yeah, this is why it's good to have a bunch of different perspectives on this, because as you know, as a Halo veteran, I don't even think about that when I'm going through your level. I already know where to go. But when hearing you say that, I think about it for 2 seconds. I'm like, yeah, I could see that. That you're gonna get fucking lost in that building, because I was lost in that building at some point when I wasn't as familiar with the game as I am now. So that is a weakness of that level for sure. I will wholeheartedly agree with that.
Yeah, like fighting the flood is fun. And then when I first like made it to that level, first time playing the game, it was like, what the hell is this? This is like, oh, cool. It's like now it's like another enemy, because like most games only usually have like, oh, the good guys and the bad guys, but it's always fun to have like more than just one enemy, because then it's like, oh, so it's like, are they my friend or are they my enemy? And then
Certainly
like
not your
obviously
friend.
later on it's just like, oh, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
You watch that video of the guy dying. It's like, I wonder if they're friendly. I think we could talk.
Well,
I
mean like games in general.
I know.
Not just
It's just funny. It's just funny. Just jokes.
It's like, we're gonna make you live forever. Just like go by Dead Space like logic. It's like, oh, the conversion will all become whole. It's like, I don't know if the flood think the same way.
So, I gotta work on Monday, so
so
I don't want to affect this body.
And as a fun like trivia for the lore, before I'll let Corey go, is I don't know if it was a specific special case, but in the novelization of Halo CE called The Flood, which is the second book out of like the first initial trilogy of books of Halo, you actually do get a point of view of that Marine that took that video, as he is a flood, like what it's like being infected by a flood and like the pain and torture it's like, where he is conscious but not really, because the flood's controlling his body, but he's also aware of everything that's happening. And that poor Marine gets at least in the book, he's actually captured by the UNSC so they could like somewhat study it, so they kind of understand what's going on. It's really kind of heartbreaking and fucked up how the flood mess with the whole body and stuff. So that's just a fun lore tidbit about the flood.
Yeah, so it's not, so it's definitely not like the Necromorphs, where it's just like, we want your body, chop your head off. Was like, all right, you're no longer. We're just gonna take your body. You can have that. You can keep the
head.
You're
pretty
not
much
allowed to do that.
But Corey, what did you think about 343 Guilty Spark? Not the robot, the level.
The level. It's kind of fun. Again, it is a very strong atmospheric level, and the tone is so different because like things are getting more serious. The introduction to the flood is like really cool because it's, you know, something that even the Covenant fear, and it's like, oh, okay, so we got more. It's not just them and humans. They're kind of building on this like universe that they've created, so that's kind of cool. I think that like the tight corridors, zombies type of thing, it like kind of felt good. Like I know I'm still playing the same game, but it's like a nice change of pace. Similar to when like you get that oh shit moment in Uncharted, where it's like, oh man, we're doing this now. Okay, so it's a nice like, you know, turning point, I suppose, where it kind of leads you to don't expect, you know, the same thing as we go. So it brings up the interest in, well, the franchise in general, because you're like, well, I really want to learn more about all this other stuff now. So it's kind of fun, because it's like there's these robot things, there's these zombie things, you got the Covenant that are fighting with you guys. So it helps with like world building. So I think it's a very important mission to the game in general for like the story.
Yeah, which is, you know, probably the reason why 343 got rid of them in their lore because it was too successful. They probably couldn't ever go back to them ever. So yeah, I love 343 Guilty Spark. It's a fantastic level, very iconic, and my favorite, at least, especially from a storytelling standpoint. Maybe not so much from a gameplay standpoint. There are better levels for that, but it's just what it means for the whole Halo franchise and what a lot of people remember as, like, if you had to pick one thing from Halo CE, what do you remember? It's like, oh, the introduction of the Flood. So we're going to transition to one of the better levels and go right into one of the shittiest levels, the library. And when I say shittiest level, I mean it's more like the general consensus of people who play this game do acknowledge the library is at least one of the shittier, if not their worst level. And I don't think it's because of the Flood specifically, because personally for me, I think the Flood are really fun to fight, especially since they're still really new. What makes this level really shitty and boring is the fact that it takes all of what makes Halo really strong and kind of throws it down the toilet for this level, because essentially this entire level is just a bunch of hold your ground segments while you wait for Guilty Spark to open fucking doors. And so there's no variation in how you approach stuff. You're just stuck in this one area while a bunch of things charge at you for what, which is also unfortunately what the longest missions in the game, so it's probably going to run you 20 to 30 minutes. You're just standing and shooting the entire time while stuff just charges you. There's no thinking about anything. There's no vehicles. There's no nothing. It just Flood charges you, and that's it. You get to walk between different doors and get to do it all over again. Again, me personally, because I like playing the game a lot, I looked into speedrunning tech a long time ago, especially when you play this mission solo legendary. You want to say, fuck that shit, and grenade jump out of bounds and skip most of the level, which is what I did. But this level is just kind of meh. It's just a bunch of fighting and it takes away all the interesting things that makes Halo combat fun, and taking away the variation of how you approach fights. The only new thing that you're introduced to in this level is the carrier form, which is the big bulbous looking dudes that explode. For all you zoomers, it's a creeper from Minecraft essentially. But they'll blow up with the force of a grenade, mind you. These things can kill you very easily if you're near them. And then burst out of a bunch of infection forms all over the place. Other than that, it's just a bunch of Flood with human and Covenant weapons and standing at doorways and killing hundreds of them until you reach the end of the level. And there are like a couple lore tidbits. The only one of redeeming qualities is that, well, 343 Guilty Spark is a very eccentric robot. Again, lore-wise, he's kind of insane, but he's spouting off about how the Flood work, why Halo was built, like that they were studying the Flood here, and that this is contamination protocols you got to fix. Let's see. Largest rooms, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's pretty, again, rivaled with the other mission. This probably has my least amount of notes on this level. Yeah, so the only good things about it is that you get to fight more of the Flood. They're fun to fight, but not in this situation. And 343 is feeding you interesting lore about what exactly the Flood are and kind of setting up what you're doing next. Because the whole point of you being here is to get the key, which is called the Index, which only Chief can pick up for some reason, that you need to grab to activate Halo to kill the Flood. At least that's what 343 is telling you at this point, and that what you understand about the situation. So that's short tidbit. What do you all think of the library, Jordan?
I can't wait to hear what Corey has to say. But on my side, it was definitely fun to be able to do this in a group setting. Now, obviously, if I was playing it by myself, it might have been a little different. At least with this one, yes, you're dealing with a lot of the Flood, but at least you kind of have somebody watching your back, because in those areas where you're basically, the door closes and you're having to wait for this fucking little guy to open the door on his end, so you're basically holding off a shitload of Flood until that comes. Really fucking annoying. And then that's kind of where Edwin ran into a corner and found a way that basically just fucked with the NPCs, where they just didn't want to initiate combat with him for some reason. Because I remember when I was doing this back in, I was trying it my old way, and I just didn't work this time, which was there was 2 vents that were dropping, basically spewing out endless fucking flood. They would just keep dropping down these vents, and you just keep taking them out before they got down. So I just try to throw grenades and then constantly use the shotgun and pump my rounds in there and hopefully keep them out. But they would eventually come out of Edwin's side or somewhere and just fuck me up anyway. So it was just, when you're constantly dealing with that much annoyance, you were kind of trying to figure out other ways to be creative with it. And that's where he kind of found his little trick that I'll have him teach, will tell everybody about. And then, of course, there was another one where when you're going underground and then you're coming up to the top floor, a lot of the times what would end up happening was I would have him do his part, like being the bait again, going upstairs, fucking dealing with that flood. And then I would stay downstairs and then watching the hallways. So, because that's basically what would happen is they would come out from all ends of those vents, and then they would eventually start coming downstairs upward, kind of just flooding you, basically. So I would hold him off, and then as he would keep getting murdered, I would keep respawning him, and then he would just keep basically throwing himself out there until we ran out of flood, and then we would take the next move. But it was just so much shit to deal with. But at the same time, I agree, the flood is definitely a good change of pace, because again, these creatures are annoying, but at the same time, it's not as annoying as dealing with fucking hunters and needlers being shot at you and just annoying ass little grunts making noises. It's kind of, I don't know, kind of like a horrific sense where you're healing these creatures with that gargling noise and shit coming at you, and it's kind of like keeps you on edge, so you're a lot more engaged with the combat versus previously you were just being annoyed. So that's kind of what my tank was on that. So what about you, Edwin?
So that mission wasn't as terrible as it usually is before. Granted, I was playing with Jordan. Yes, playing that co-op makes it much easier. But having the flood in that level is better, because if that area was just filled with Covenant, that would just be nothing less than a hellhole, because there's a lot of areas where you can take cover, and that's what the Covenant are smarter about. But because it's flood, they constantly just run after you instead, and they don't care about being shot at all. They are fun to fight because they don't have shields or anything, so it's just like just Hail Mary all your grenades and just spray and pray that you'll kill them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like that. I was wondering about some of those sections where it's like you have to wait for him to open the door, and then throughout like playing those missions, I realized it was like, they don't have good eyesight. So I was trying to see, is there like a corner that you can hide in so you don't see them? But the question to myself was, is him opening the door? This is like after a few attempts, because I noticed it was like, no matter how many of the flood we kill, they're just gonna keep coming out of the vents. So it's like, all right, so it's just gonna be endless. So like you might as well just run around and save your bullets. But I was wondering, is it a timed portion, or is it really how many of you have to kill like a certain amount for them? Because it could be one or the other in a lot of games. So I went to a small little corner, or trying to find like a little area to keep hidden, and then I did. It was right next to, on the outer side of each vent, there's like a little small area where it's like just enough for 2 people to fit in, because Jordan ended up joining me, and then we both just hit away.
I just like, get me the fuck in there, make some room, and I just squeeze on in.
Yeah, it's like the flood didn't see us at all, and then after like maybe a minute or two,
where the fuck
doors
are
did
those
open.
guys?
So the door did finally open, and we didn't have to kill a single flood to get through.
Well, congratulations, you discovered some speedrunning tech.
Yeah, so it's like you do it. It's like it's a time thing, so like not as much as speed running, but it will keep you alive. Because
speed running, and the fact that it doesn't get you killed, because you can't skip the entire level with the speed running tech. But that's something you do in the speed running thing, is that like the less you got to fight, the less if you don't have to fight, you're not going to die. So let's not fight.
Okay. Well, like the thing that you were talking about before is like the grenade jumping. I never got the hang of grenade jumping, but I've never heard of that. Out of bounds for that.
The short version is that like you throw a grenade, and at the height of a jump, if you time it right, if a grenade explodes and you don't automatically kill yourself, it'll boost you up higher than normally, so you can get to areas that you wouldn't be able to do just by jumping normally.
Interesting.
Okay.
Huh.
You can do it with rockets too, but it's much more dangerous.
I got you, Ed. Poof, free kill.
Well, like, but besides all that, is like I did get slightly lost like near the end because it was the same room, but granted, there's like this giant blue platform in the middle. There's like, so I was like, are we done? I kind of just waited for Jordan because he was far back. I was like, I didn't know if this was an elevator or it's just like another section that we have to like just cross it like a bridge. But like, but eventually, I just waited for Jordan to catch up because this was the part where he just kept sending me to die.
Well, so that was the funny thing was on
me.
Well, that was the funny thing is that those elevators, you can activate them from the outside, and I thought that's how he did because it's just like a hologram. So I pushed the button, and I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna get onto it, and the fucking thing just starts dropping, and I'm like, oh shit! And I try to jump, and that's when I'm like, I'm light as a feather, and then by the time I touch the elevator, I die. So I just started doing that, and like, come on, Edwin, hurry up! And he's like, oh, and I'd hit the button, he would be too late, and I'd watch him float, and then eventually hit the platform and just die. And then that was kind of, we started doing the karate chop action on each other. That was funny too.
Happened to me often.
Yeah, it was like, other than that, it was like, definitely that level is better with co-op, but it's definitely like a bad, like narrow area it's just constant fighting and a lot of waiting. It's like nothing else than that. Corey?
All right, Corey.
God, the library was kind of annoying. I this is when I started my like downward spiral into like losing my shit. The Flood is, they're very unique because you've been fighting the Covenant, who are more intelligent in combat, and then the Flood are not scared of anything. They don't dodge grenades. They don't care that you're shooting at them. They just rush you. And also the fact that I didn't know where health packs were most of the time. I would constantly be killed by like a dude who jumps up to do a freaking Michael Jordan slam dunk, and then he'd be like, slap, and you're dead. And it's like, God damn it. And I'm waiting for this. The whole time this is happening, I guess the icing on the cake is a little dumb robot thing is like, doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo, and I'm just getting killed over and over again. So I have to hear this like Winnie the Pooh sounding drone thing who's like just kind of meandering about, and I'm like, I am dying, bro. Hurry the fuck up. And in the elevators being the floaty Master Chief, where it's like, oh crap, I didn't get on the elevator in time. And then it's like, even if I finally found a health pack, lose all my health. It's like, and there'd be instances, more so in the next level, but rocket launcher Flood, and they don't really aim, they just kind of fire, except for they always just launch that missile straight at my face. So there'd be like a rocket launcher Flood guy, and that's an instant kill, which totally blows, but justifiable because of the weapon type. So you just like, I would just be like fighting, like, oh, finally it's over, and I'd run around a corner, and he's like, duh, boom, and then you had to like deal with the shitty checkpoint system again, going, great, I have to do that whole thing again. And so like on the umpteenth time, it's just kind of like, I am gonna blow my brains out if I have to do this shit one more time. Like, I understand like when you do everything in like the way that it's supposed to be, like numerically and first try, and that's cool. But when you have to do anything over again, which happens a lot in the next level, it's just kind of like, okay, I'm not even having fun right now. I just want to get through this part to get to the end. And but like the library overall is like a level. It is very samey, so I'm kind of like, did I walk this way? Like, if I kind of not paying attention, and the constant spawning of the enemies kind of leads me to believe I'm going the right way, because it's like, oh, I see enemies, I must be going the right way. So then it's like walking back and forth in the hall constantly. And I was usually out of ammo, so that also sucks, because you're fighting them and they're just eating damage, and you're just kind of like, oh, well, where's more bullets? And it's like, well, you'll get to them, I guess. So I'm like, pistol whipping the Flood is damn near pointless. So it was just like a huge like hurry the fuck up moment for me with this point, because it was like, oh cool, I'm in the library, it's kind of spooky. Again, if you change the graphics to the better version, it's not spooky at all because it's just a well-lit hallway. But you do have to use your flashlight a little more in the original version. So it's another level that has good atmosphere. They're playing up the fear factor of like the level or the characters that you're fighting. And it feels, it very much delivers on the idea that they're trying to get across. It's like you're in a scary place fighting scary things, and it they nail that one at this level. So it's definitely really good atmosphere for the library. Struggle bus aside, it is a good level.
Mm-hmm. And criminally, that we did not mention the Flood, at least in general, during our horror games when we were briefly talking about like sections in games that, in non-horror games that are scary, is the Flood pretty creepy. But yeah, library, not a great level. Quite frankly, I actually don't even know how you didn't run out of ammo, considering all the Flood rushing at you with guns. Just kill them and get more ammo. I don't know what to tell you. But anyway, so that being said, you get the index, and Chief gets the index, which is immediately taken by the robot. And you, first of all, you wonder why he couldn't have just teleported you up here, and he's just like protocol, and you're like, fuck you. He takes the index, and now he teleports you back to the control room. So now we get to Corey's favorite level, 2 Betrayals, which is, again, another one of my least favorite levels. I might like it less than Assault on the Control Room. I might like it, but I don't know. Either way, because it and Assault on the Control Room basically share the same exact map, except now we're doing it in basically reverse order, which is the biggest like reuse of assets in the entire game, is just basically reusing an entire level. So this is also when like the other shoe drops with the lore. So 343 teleports him and Chief back into the control room where Cortana is. Chief goes to put the index in the console. Cortana stops him. 343's very surprised that there's an AI in the core. They start bitching back and forth. Cortana being like, "Why are you helping this psychopath trying to kill us all?" And Chief is saying, "No, he's a friend." And he's like, "Oh yeah, he's your pal, right?" Like Cortana's acting all uppity despite the fact that Chief doesn't know what the fuck is going on. So eventually she basically spits out that it's like, yes, he's like, we're going to activate Halo and use it against the Flood to stop them. And she says, oh, no, yeah, Halo's a weapon, but a weapon that kills their food, not the Flood. Food being, humans, covenants, whatever. So Halo's whole purpose is to wipe out all sentient life in the galaxy except for the Flood. Which she asks him to confirm with 343. 343 confirms that and is like, but why? You were following me this whole time. Why would you stop now? And then he also alludes that this has all been done before, being like, because now that Chief knows what's happening, he's on Cortana's side, obviously, and 343 is getting pissy because he needs to activate the ring to, as per his programming. And he's like, and 343 asks him before he tries to attack with a bunch of sentinels, it's like, if it was you asked me before, if it was my choice, would I do it? He's like, yes, I would, which kind of alludes to somehow this has all happened before. Whether or not they knew where the lore was going at this point is unknown, but it's fun that there is something there with 343 and how Halo might have interacted with humans in the past, or, ancestors of humans possibly, or some other species, who knows. But anyways, so now that 343 is against you, you retrieve Cortana out of the control console, and 343 tells the Sentinels to kill him, but leave his head so he can take Cortana and take the index and activate Halo. So you're reunited with Cortana, which is nice because now you have her comforting voice back after 2 levels of complete silence, or rather silence from anything but 343 being an annoying bitch. So now your new mission, she's telling you as you're fighting off all the Sentinels and making your way out, is that now you're going to destroy Halo by activating or by overloading the engines on the downed Pillar of Autumn to blow up the entire ring. But now for this mission, which really feels like filler, because as you're getting out, she's like, okay, first we have to delay 343 in case he can figure out some way to activate the ring without the index. So then you have to go to these 3 power pole doodads and overload them to break something in order to delay him, basically. Which these specific situations where you overload this, and by the way, like I said, we're working backwards. So now you are at the end of the mission of Assault on the Control Room. So now in 2 Betrayals, you go out from the end of that mission and basically make your way to the beginning section of the snowy area, working your way backwards through the level, through all these places you've ever been, through all these places you've already been that have already been copy pasted by itself. So that's already pretty dull. But not only that, now we're back to fighting Covenant, who are fighting the Flood, who the Flood are fighting the Covenant. They're both fighting you, and the Sentinels are fighting the Flood, and the Sentinels are fighting you. It's starting to turn to chaos at this point. So you commandeer a Banshee, this is supposed to be the first level where you get a Banshee if you didn't get one in the previous levels. And you are now put in these moments where Cortana has to use your shields to overload these like generator pylons, which on the surface is kind of an interesting combat encounter because every time you're going to be ambushed by someone, either be Covenant, Flood, Sentinels, whatever, and you're starting it off on the wrong foot with no shields because doing this drains your shielding, which is kind of interesting because they're throwing a curveball at you in terms of like how the encounter is going to work. It's like, well, you have no shields. What are you going to do? Which lower level difficulties, kind of fine. Higher level difficulties makes you want to put a bullet in your head. Especially with the Sentinels that just spit on you and you die. But you have to do this 3 times, working your way backwards through this entire mission. There's not a whole lot to say other than it's just fucking Assault on the Control Room, working your way backwards and overloading these generators. And by the time you get to the last one, Cortana taps into the teleportation system of the ring because now you need to go get Keyes' authorization codes to overload the Pillar of Autumn. So you have to go find Keyes again for the 3rd time in this game. And that's basically it. There's not a whole lot to be said about this mission other than it feels like a bunch of fucking filler in more ways than one. It's like I said, it's probably my least favorite. I'm almost probably with Corey. It's probably the shittiest mission. I even like the library more than it. The only other cool thing being that you get to see the Covenant and Flood in open warfare. And quite frankly, if you had the patience, you could just let them kill each other and, wipe up what's left. But other than that, that's really all to be said about this mission. So Jordan, what do you think of it?
I fucking hated that level. I hated it. We didn't beat this level because we hated it so goddamn much. This is where I just like I'm done. Edwin, let's talk about something else.
There was the next one.
It was the next one. We actually got through this one.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, well, this is still.
This is where we both started falling off, and then we just started dying left and right.
Oh,
we don't give a shit anymore.
Okay. So yeah, because this is the one with the Sentinels just pissing you off, zapping you in the face while you're trying to shoot the fucking Flood in the Covenant. Right?
Yeah, and then we had to somehow try and survive, and then take a Banshee up to like some.
Yep, fuck cliff. That level. Fuck that level. I hated that level so goddamn much. Yeah, this was the dumbest level ever. It was the thing that you were constantly dealing not with 1, not 2, but 3. You'd be thinking you're doing great, and all of a sudden you see a fucking laser beam shooting you in the face because that goddamn Sentinel. So now you got to aim up and shoot this fucking thing while it's flying around, hovering you, while you're trying to deal with the Flood and the Covenant. That was just annoying to get up. I couldn't handle it. It was just dying after death, and it was no longer a fun experience. And that's kind of where, I guess that's where we got to the last point where I thought we were, where you just basically drained. You're not having a good time anymore. You want it to be over with, as it was like before. You thought the library was annoying. You thought it couldn't get any worse. It gets way worse, and that's kind of where I was like, fuck this game. I'm getting taxed. I don't ever recall being this stressed on this game before, and I played it a long time ago. But god damn it, man, it took over all my emotions, and I was just ready to just be like, all right, we're good. And that's kind of where we ended up going through that, asking each other, do we want to continue? Like, I'm good if you
talking about literally anything else.
I'm ready. I could quit if you want to quit. We had to like try to like basically motivate each other. Like, no, let's finish this. Let's do it. but there was so
Which,
much
let's
doubt.
be real, part of the reason of that is that y'all were trying to do it in one day when the whole point of the month of time is supposed to try and do it a little bit.
And that is
Jordan
true.
wanted to do it on Legendary.
Well,
I was like, I wanted to pick Heroic. It was
I beat it
it's
before on
tough, but
Legendary. I
it's
was
not
like,
impossible.
we beat it on Legendary before. I know I could do it again, but yes, that's to be truthful on that. Yes, if we were talking about that, if we took our sweet time through this experience, like within the month time frame that we were supposed to, it probably would have been a lot less painful on it, because at least you'd have had a full day to just reflect and then start over.
I mean, I'm more like referring to the fact that you were just like burnt out to the point you wanted the torture to end. Because I'm not defending the fact that the level's suddenly going to get better if you could just take it little by little. The level still sucks ass, but your lack of will to live is probably due to the fucking struggle busting your way through it so hard.
No, it was painful. I really don't have much good things to say on this besides that. I guess it's, if you want to see what it looks like when all three sides attack each other at one go, you'll get a taste of it in that level. That's all I can fucking say. Fuck that level.
Yeah, that level is just absolutely terrible. I was like, if you had a choice between having this Scorpion and attack the control center or this one, it was like I would rather have it for this one, because it's just incredibly chaotic in every corner, more so than attack the control center, because it's not just the Covenant that you're fighting, it's also the Flood. So you're gonna be rushed by the Flood and then be shot from afar by the Covenant. So you're being shot from two different distances, and then you have to pay attention to both, because they can, on Legendary, they can both kill you pretty easily. But then also the other issue is that you have to try and make sure that the Banshees don't get destroyed, because they won't enter it, but they're always going to be on their side. They give you a bunch of rocket launchers, but you have to make sure that the Banshees survive, because not all the pylons that you need to destroy are on the ground. It's going to be on some high-end cliff that you can only reach by Banshee, which I didn't want to test it out, and I don't know if the game would like forgive you for not being able to escape with a Banshee, or like refresh it.
I don't know what the contingency there is, to be honest with you. You might be able to soft lock yourself. I don't know. I've never been put in that situation, so I actually don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about. But I was like, I got one of them and then it was destroyed, and then I got the second one, and then thankfully before it was destroyed, we got a checkpoint, and then I was able to make it to the cliff and then spawn Jordan with me, and then we were able to finish the mission. Thankfully, after getting that last one, then it just finally ended. After destroying the last pylon, it was like, oh, thank God, it's over. Corey?
All right, Corey, go off.
God. So not only is this just a rinse repeat level, but they've added a lot of bullshit, and I feel like the game was just out to get me. Like, there's so many stupid things that happened, because I died a lot. And it was just like, I got to the bridge scene. Here comes a bunch of Flood. That's okay. I get by them by shooting grenades, but I got to watch out for the idiots on the other side shooting at me, plus the Banshee that's flying around, and it's also shooting me. So it's like, okay, I finally weasel my way back there. 3 rocket launcher guys on the bridge. All of them see me first, constantly. Not only that, but the checkpoints are horseshit. So then when I have to go through, there was one instance where I died probably 27 fucking times. Clearing the room, because you have to jump in and overpower it with your shield or whatever. And it's just kind of like, are you kidding? Like, I go in there, strip my shield, the sentinels are shooting everything, but it's, as soon as I get in there, it's as if they all squash their beef and they want to just kill me. Everything was fighting me. And it's just kind of like, God damn it. And then there's a particular hallway where there's 2 elites fighting some guys. I walk around the corner. All of them want to fight me. So I'm like, okay, fine. So I'm shooting with them. I get to the end, and there's just a rocket launcher Flood standing on the other side of this turn. So you walk around the corner, and he just nukes you. So it was just a matter of memorizing every placement so I can run, jump, spin, shoot that guy, move on, throw a grenade over there. And it was just rinse, repeat, and it was just the least amount of fun that I had in this entire game. And this is how much bullshit it was. I found a way to walk around all of the horseshit, jump on a rock, climb over it to go around this cave when I got to the ground level, because the Flood are all running towards the Covenant. Unless, of course, I go to the right, in which it spawns Flood that weren't there before, just so I have to fight them. But I sneak by everything. I get in the cave, and the guy on the Banshee flies all the way into the cave and parks it up my ass. And it's just like, what? Why would he even come in here? But he flew all the way in and land. He wasn't even shooting at me. It was just the game going like, no, do it exactly how we want you to experience this. And I'm just like screaming the entire time because it's like, I just want this level to fucking end. It's so long, and I've already played this level, and everything is killing me. I never have enough ammo. I don't know where any of the health packs are, and you won't let me do it the way that I'm trying to do it. You know, and it's just like, can I just skip this shit? Because it's not even fun at this point, which I know I said on like our Discord while I was experiencing this, because Jordan and Edwin were playing through. I think you guys were on Assault the control room while I was doing this one, and I was just losing my shit.
Son of a bitch! Son of a bitch! You just have to say that.
Yeah, it's literally like, why the fuck would they put them there? I like, enemy placement aside, the checkpoints were so dog shit on that level that it would just be like, I literally just cleared out this whole place with 50 enemies. But that would be the thing, right? It's like, oh, if I kill everything in this room, then it'll trigger a checkpoint. But it's like, you should just trigger the checkpoint since I've completed the task in here. I've already did the damn thing. I got out of the building. Give me the checkpoint. Why do you have to kill me on the bridge and make me do all of this over again? Just like, I should at least be awarded to be in the hall right before the bridge, not have to clear the whole fucking thing and then do the bridge. Because the point of the bridge being so tough is I've already ran out of bullets by the time I got there. And then I don't know, the guy flying around the Banshee is just icing on the cake. Because it's like, not only is but this guy who's not even flying it to shoot me, he's flying it at me. And so like he probably killed me 5 times last night by running me over.
Yeah, they tend to do that a lot.
And I'm just kind of like, what the hell, man? You're not even using an airplane the way it's supposed to be used. You're just flying it straight at me.
Yeah, sure, he's kamikaze.
Yeah, you know, and then like there was instances where like I had to get in a Banshee and fly up to something, but the game is like, he's getting in a car. Everyone in the entire level shoot him. And so I'm just like flying up, freaking out, like, please God, start taking off, because everyone is hitting me. And it would be like, I have a full health Banshee, and by the time I got high enough, I would have 1 bar just escaping out. And I'm like, God, man, anything at this point is going to kill me. And so I'd fly up, I'd park it, and then I'd run out to get in it, and then they would just be like, plasma grenades at it. And I'm like, yeah, it was just this shit show of rinse repeat for probably an hour. I probably spent, of the 8.5 hours playing this game, like one of those was just this level. And it was just like, are you kidding me? The entire time.
Yeah.
This is fun.
Yeah.
This is fine.
But it's specifically this level, like, you would think that was the last level of the game with how difficult that was, for me at least. And I'm playing on normal. I'm trying to just absorb the content, specifically for the episode. And I'm just kind of like, I want to say fuck it. I just want to throw in the towel and just say fuck this. But I stuck it out, I beat it, and then it's downhill from there, which is wild that it's not like the last level, because
right.
You know, we're going to get to the last level, but it's definitely the hardest level on the entire map, or the entire game, I suppose.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's a fucking shit level. I hate playing this level anytime I go through another campaign session that I almost want to skip it every time. So yeah, that's 2 betrayals. Sucks ass. We're almost there. We got 2 levels left. Now we're on keys.
We didn't play.
We're on keys now. So for the 3rd time, you have to go rescue Captain Keyes. Cortana teleports you onto another Covenant ship. I am unclear, actually, if it's the same one he was on originally. I know for a fact that the map is the same. It's another kind of reused asset level, for the most part. regardless, you get teleported onto the ship. Little comedic scene that Cortana jumped you in upside down, and Chief smacks his helmet to get her to shut the fuck up. But very quickly you realize the ship is fucked up, and you actually have to jump out of the ship and have to re-enter it from the grav lift. And you're just in a hellscape of Covenant versus Flood warfare in a very small area where the dickheaded developers decided thought it'd be really funny as you're going through a canyon to just drop carrier forms on your head because I think it's hilarious. But again, the only tactic I can say for this for Legendary, let them fight. Just let them fight and clean up afterwards. So yeah, a bunch of fighting through there. Nothing's too terribly interesting other than, like I said, the game's getting more and more chaotic at this point because the Flood is just fucking everything up. Lots of close quarter fighting. You're probably going to be holding that shotgun close for the entire rest of the game for both Human and Covenant. As you get back onto the ship, you're going to recognize a lot of areas you've already been to on the other level. Just re-fighting your way through all these areas to get to Keys in almost the same room you found him in the other time, just kind of next door to the holding cells, where you find out he's already a Flood. So there's not much to do but for Chief to cave his skull in and grab his neural implants because that's what you need from him. Fatality. Funny anecdote. When I was doing this, when I got the cutscene that Chief punches his brains out, I missed a combat form, and the entire time in the cutscene, the combat form was smacking Master Chief, and blood was spurting out of him, but he was going through the cutscene regardless. And when it looked at Captain Keyes, I heard a smack, and I heard Chief die. Like, and I really thought it was going to send me back to the previous checkpoint, but it didn't. And then the Flood kind of got up in front of the camera, in front of Keyes, like, yeah, I fucking did that. What are you going to do about it? And he just kind of stood there the entire time. And as soon as the cutscene ended, he's just standing there and just shot him with the shotgun. I was like, that was really weird. But anyways, there's, again, Keyes, not a lot to say about this level. It's just more fucking Flood and Covenant fighting. All the scenario encounters are just kind of chaos at this point because it's just like you can let them fight or you can jump in the middle and start blowing them all up. A bit, like I said, kind of some unique encounters with the narrow like canyon area where, again, Bungie decided to be funny just to throw carrier forms on your head. And then, of course, they're throwing the carrier forms that blow up with the force of grenades in these really narrow hallways and situations where you turn the corner and there's one standing right there, so you really don't have a whole lot of chance to react. Not a terrible level, but just kind of unmemorable outside of having to punch Keyes' skull in. And then after getting his neural implants, your next job is to go back to the Pillar of Autumn, so you go back out into the bay, hijack a Banshee, and fuck off. So there's not a whole lot to say about this mission. Like I said, it's all right. It's not even particularly like bad, but there's nothing insanely memorable about it because it's just kind of chaos. So what do you think about it, Jordan? What little bit
did we know about this level?
Yeah.
This is like, we basically were burnt out at this point. It was just too much chaos. You had to fight everything. And it was, if you had the patience, you could wait and let them deal with it. I didn't have it at this point. I was just like, I'm just gonna keep trying to go at it, and eventually it just got to the point where we were just standing in this like green like water pond something, and we just started fucking gave up and started talking about other shit than the game because we were just so fucking sick of it. It was just too much. I just couldn't handle the fact that it was, there was so much shit going on. If you wanted shit to work out your way, you just had to sit there and let them do the work, and I just didn't have that in me. It was like, I'm gonna just keep fucking trying. All right, I'm fucking done. How about you, Edwin? And we just like kept talking. And it was like, all right. Then we started talking about this shit, and eventually we just like, I think we did enough. I think we got enough. I kind of remember it. It was a shit show. Pretty rocks, a lot of pain. I think we're good on this one. So
because you guys were still going at it when I got off, and it was, I think I stopped playing at like 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah, and then we didn't stop until, well, we don't live in the same state, but it was like Corey and I do. So it's like so Corey, you said you got off at like 2 a.m.
Yeah, it's probably like 1:32.
Yeah, we didn't stop until it was 6 a.m.
Jesus.
Yeah. So it's like for like the last 45 minutes we were just talking and then my screen was just filled with like that green water because I didn't move from the pond. I was like I don't want to get out of this pond. I'm just gonna sit here and have my screen. Yeah, it's just like the screen is just green, and then occasionally a flood would just smack me to death in the water.
That's the beginning of Keys?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
We couldn't leave. It was so fucking bad. It was just shitload of action right when you walked out of that area, and we just couldn't get out. So we just started fucking just chatting in the pond. Like, fuck this.
Just waiting. Yeah, it's like a hot tub.
You know, it was just cut. We were talking like before the cutscene started. It was like, oh, there's a cutscene, and then like when the cutscene ended, my screen was just green. It was like I didn't even get out. I don't know what the level looks like because like the screen was just green the whole time. It was like I didn't bother getting out or look at the level, so I had no idea what the level was. So like we just gave up after that. It was like oh, this is the second to last level. It was like we don't care. We're done. Corey?
Let's see. For Keys, like I didn't really mind it. I mean the first part obviously is just kind of like, oh shit, you're going back through the sniper area kind of thing, and like visually it was cool. I think like it was one of those instances where I fell because I kept walking and I thought that it would like I reached the the teleporter or whatever, that it would just go. But I walked off the side and had to like walk all the way around it again. So I was like, what the hell? I should have just triggered like a cutscene because I reached the end, but you have to stand in it for like 4 seconds. And so it's like, oh, okay. And I died a few times on that one. There's particularly a part where like a hunter's fighting with stuff and you have a sniper rifle and you can kind of shoot a bunch of dudes before you even go over there. So it was more of I'm just going to stand here and snipe as much as I can until I'm out of bullets and then I'll walk that direction. But like the ship isn't as bad because it's just tight corridors and throwing plasma grenades where they need to be thrown. Because anytime you're in like the funnel areas, it's just kind of like, well, there's 15 of them, but they're all about to die with this grenade, which, classically, I remember Master Chief throwing grenades like really fucking far, but I feel like he barely throws them anywhere in this one. When I was playing it then, and maybe it's because like playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare or whatever, you just yeet a grenade like across the map, but in this one I'm like, ha! And it's like 5 feet in front of you. I'm like, oh damn it. And the grenades don't bounce as much when you throw like the frags, but basically the saving grace of this level is grenades in like just throwing them down the hallways before you turn a corner. But because this one's checkpoints weren't necessarily bad. It was, I mean, I did die a few times, but it wasn't as bad as the one before it because it's, you don't have a lot of gunfire coming from like all angles. It's most of the enemies are approaching you from directly in front of you. There's not a lot of people behind you or anything like that. The invisible elites and the swords and stuff are kind of like, oh, well, that sucks. I got insta-killed, And you don't get to use the sword in this one, but like if you have a shotgun, shotguns and grenades are, godlike in this particular mission because they can't move out of the way from the grenades very much. And if you throw one behind them, because I was threading needles most of the time and I'd chuck a plasma grenade and it'd go like right between their legs or something. I'm like, really? I missed? But if you throw it behind him and then throw a grenade in front of him, basically everybody either ran forward or they're all going to run backwards into the other one, and then you just shotgun whoever's left. So it wasn't really that big of a deal. And we've already seen the ship. It's just got flood on it now, but the flood aren't pouring out of the vents like in the library, so it's not really that bad. They just kind of act as ammo drops for you, it feels like, because nobody really was like a big problem. It was just waves of enemies to get to whatever the end of the mission. So it's not the most fun, but it is, I guess, important because you're doing we have to go back and get him again. It's almost the most rinse repeat mission, I think, more so than 2 Betrayals.
Well, at least in terms of the exact objective, yeah.
Yeah.
Halo CE, finding your keys.
Yeah.
Where's the keys?
He found them in his brain. Trust me, you don't gotta save them anymore. All right, so as we've just said, that's where Jordan and Edwin kind of fell off, but you both have played CE before, so if you do remember stuff about the last levels, again, feel free to pipe in about it. But Now we're here, the final level of the game, the Maw. So after commandeering the Banshee, Chief and Cortana head back to the ruined Pillar of Autumn. You get a couple good shots of it being destroyed on some canyon cliffside, all fucked up and derelict. You fly the Banshee there again and get a little bit more comedic stuff. At this point, you're getting a good feeling about like Cortana and Chief's like back and forth. So you get on the ship, and supposedly it's supposed to be really straightforward. You're going to go to the command, you're going to go to the captain area and basically set the ship to blow. And so you get on the ship, and again, you're going to be fighting Sentinels, Flood, and Covenant. For anyone questioning why there's Covenant here, the best I can give you is that while they want the Flood to be destroyed, they don't want the Sacred Ring to be destroyed, because remember, the Covenant's like this religious group of aliens that worship this thing, and if they have even an inkling of what you're doing, they're going to want to stop you. But anyways, so let's see. You get to the piloting area where you originally met Keyes and got the pistol in the first level of the game. And Cortana tries to set up the detonation, and you're interrupted by 343, who is also on the ship, and basically getting a bunch of human history, again, him alluding to the fact that he's met humanity before and stuff like that, but he stops the detonation, and now you have to do it manually. And Cortana's like, I don't know what to do. And Chief's like, how much, firepower you need to blow open one of those engine shieldings? He's like, a grenade. And he hefts this giant pineapple-looking fucking grenade that's the size of his goddamn head around. And she's like, all right, I like the way you think. And I'm coming with you. So now you have to go to the engine. Huh?
Isn't it a warhead?
No, he just has a grenade. It's fucking huge.
Okay. Seems comical.
It's supposed to just be your regular frag grenade, but it's like comedically oversized in the cutscene. Okay. But now your new job is to go to the engine room and blow them up with either rockets or grenades. And like I said, nice symmetry. The last level of the game is on the Pillar of Autumn. First level of the game is on the Pillar of Autumn, and you're going out to complete this last objective from the same place you got the pistol from in the first level. I just think that's some cool symmetry there. So you fight your way through a bunch of Flood and Covenant to get to the engineering room, which there's an armory room down the way to supply the player with tons and tons of rockets and grenades. Because one of the shitty things about this level is cracking the shield casings is the most annoying fucking thing in the universe, because the game just kind of decides whether or not you actually blew it up or not.
Yes.
Yeah, it is really annoying. So you fight your way to the engineering room where 343 is. You're going to be fighting mainly Flood and Sentinels in here, and what you have to do, this is like kind of more or less the quote-unquote boss fight of Halo CE, is having to deal with all those things while opening up these engine things where they have these 3 little flaps that'll come up and down, and the idea is you're supposed to chuck a grenade or shoot a rocket when the flaps are up. But whether or not doing that actually works just depends on the fucking phase of the moon and whether or not the fucking game had its coffee this morning.
60% of the time, it works every time. That sucks.
It is incredibly annoying, especially once again on much harder difficulties where time is of the essence, and every time you throw a grenade is just causing you longer and longer and another wasted resource. But you have to do this 4 times, which sucks ass.
Stick to the rules.
But once you eventually do it, when the game decides you did it, the ship's starting to blow up and you're now on a timer basically. So now you have to get yourself onto the hull of the ship where you're trying to call in Foehammer to come pick you up. You get in the Warthog and you go into the iconic Warthog run where you have one in this and one in Halo 3 and not really one in Halo 2, but there's one in Halo 3 as like an homage. But and what you seem to remember as something epic, at least the first half before you get to the midway point, getting to the part where Foehammer is supposed to pick you up, sucks ass because it's just this horrible obstacle course of a set between how shittily the Warthog functions. Like, there's enemies there too, but they're generally more concerned fighting each other. Like, their gunfire isn't that much of an issue unless you wipe out near them. So iconic music, awesome music kicks in. But again, epic of the moment's kind of ruined by the fact that Warthog controls like shit, and this whole area you're driving through is not really meant to be driven through. So it's kind of like when you're playing Sonic the Hedgehog and you suddenly hit a spike pit and you lose all your momentum because it feels shitty and terrible, except it's happening every 2 goddamn seconds. So you'll get to this part where you're supposed to be picked up by Foehammer and you stop. Cortana tells you to stop, which again, speed running trick. You don't have to stop. You just keep driving if you want. But she tries to come in, but she's shot down by some banshees, and Foehammer's dead. Which again, it's kind of interesting. I know, and you're not gonna cry and be like, "Oh my god, Foehammer!" But you're like, "Oh man, I like Foehammer," because this entire time Foehammer is the one's been carrying you through the entire game. You don't even know the fucking character's face. It's just a faceless voice from a pelican, but you still like the character, which is interesting. Or at least you're supposed to. If you don't, I mean, you're just you're not a human being.
I really hate that guy.
Yeah. But so now you have even less time to go to the second half, which I feel like is designed somehow better than the first half of the run, where driving on it is a lot easier for some reason. I don't know why. It's just easier. There's not as much shit to turn around. You can just keep going straight on for a lot of it. Because now you're trying to race to the hangar bay where there's a long sword fighter that you have to commandeer to get the fuck out of here. So you drive all the way down.
Midway through development, they just switch level designers. It's like you make the first half, I make the second one.
Yeah, it's weird.
I make the second. I make the first one. You make the second one. I'm going on lunch.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, we're not making a racing game.
So you go through the second part, and you're just driving through all this flood. You get to this one epic part again. Music is kicking in, and as long as all the cards are right, you're having this epic moment of just making a mad dash to the finish line. And you get to this part where you have to jump out of the Warthog and run this last little bit to the longsword fighter down this little corridor of flood jumping after you and everything. But once you hit that cutscene area, you're done. That's the end of the game because the cutscene kicks in. There's a bunch of flood chasing after Chief. Chief runs into the longsword fighter, takes off from the Pillar of Autumn. Pillar of Autumn goes, blows to hell as it zooms out, showing all the armies of flood heading to the Pillar of Autumn, trying to get off the planet, stopping you from destroying Halo. And you fly off, you blow up the Pillar of Autumn, it blows a whole chunk out of the ring, which floats over and blows up the other half of the ring, fucks the entire thing. And out in space, Cortana confirms that you and her are basically the only things that survive, which is immediately retconned in Halo First Strike, but let's not talk about that. So you are the only people out there, and she's just like, we had to do it. We had to stop the flood. And, Chief sits down, camera zooms out. He takes off his helmet because we're not allowed to see his face because that's the meme. And he alludes, it's like, no, I think we're just getting started, being like, foreshadowing more games because who knows if they I don't think Bungie knew.
Those numbers are justified for a sequel.
Yeah. So, and that's the end of the game. Overall, the level, we'll talk about the level first, and we'll get to final wrapping up thoughts. So, do you remember anything about this level, Jordan, from your past experiences playing this game?
I do. I not exactly all the way through. I just do remember you are in the spot like that, the what do you call it, the Pillar of Autumn or whatever. It was like you're in that little spot, and then you end up going out into this open spot area where they have these kind of objective marks. And at least that point of the game that I kind of remember that they did show you where those stupid ass flaps are at, where you're supposed to fucking blow up, and they just don't work. I remember that a lot. That was actually very fucking painful. You'd be trying to throw something and it just doesn't. You saw it blow up, but it didn't fucking blow up. So you're still dealing with it, but you're still dealing with the fucking flood too, that are just annoying as shit. Just jumping and trying to slam dunk you with a slap, and you're just getting annoyed with this shit because you're just getting slapped. Everybody just wants to slap you, and you're just constantly getting killed. But after that point, the one that I do recall is that you do have that kind of epic driving with the Warthog, and there's shit in the way, and things are blowing up as you're trying to get out of there. Not too much in depth of it. I just recall that was a part, because it's obviously the end where you're trying to escape the explosions and shit. But I think if I do recall, that level wasn't that long. It was mostly just trying to avoid a lot of bullshit along the way to get out of there before you blow up that place. That's basically all I can recall. How about you, Edwin? Do you recall anything on this one?
Well, it's pretty much the same level as the first one, except now you have the flood running down the hallways after you while you're also being shot by the Covenant. But yeah, it's like I think like that level is infamous for like trying to throw grenades or shoot rocket launchers into the vents. I know that I had problems not only trying to get it to like get a reaction out of it for the game to like register. It was like, yeah, I did it. But it's also like enemies like flying by or in front of you, messing up my grenade shots or my rocket launcher shots. It's like, oh, cool, you just jumped right in front of me, and now we're both gonna blow up. But I always did kind of like the driving part. There's like obviously the driving sucks because everything is ice. But it's like I remember that it has like there's like two different routes you can take for the getting to the long wing plane. I don't know if that's correct.
Sword.
Yeah,
There's like three pathways on the same road. Like you can go, it's not just one road you drive down, but you can go around the sides or the like basically either the two sides or the center is your options. It's just that sometimes those routes like weirdly end and you have to like slowly veer off and go the other direction and stuff like that. That's what I meant by how it's like it's weirdly designed. It's kind of annoying that way, but
I'm just watching this. I just watched a small clip on YouTube of it. Yeah, that is fucking annoying. That Warthog drive is not straight. You have to fucking basically like a mouse maze. You got to get yourself around all these stupid corners to fit this fucking Jeep through the spots
and
that
like
shouldn't fit.
It's mainly in the first half because once you get to the part after Foehammer dies, the pathing gets a little bit better, a little bit more straightforward, where you can just like gun it and go forward. But just the first section is the worst section. It's really aggravating.
Well, it's also funny. It was like that part could have been so much worse if literally all the human vehicles weren't indestructible, because the only destructible vehicles are the Covenants.
Mm-hmm.
So as if the Warthog could be destroyed at that end part,
that would much
suck
worse.
Even more.
Yeah.
Corey?
Well, so if I had to, like, thinking back to it, I don't think I've ever actually beat the original Halo. So this was the first time I've ever completed the game. Like, I've seen the last level. I've seen the, like, car part. That's the thing. Like, I thought that was just the end, was driving the car. I didn't realize that you were going to go do all of this other stuff. So it was kind of refreshing to be able to like play the game in one sitting like that and absorb it as like what it is because of the juggernaut that Halo has become, over all the years. So it was like going back. It's not a very long level, like Jordan was saying. You get a chance to fight a little of everything that you've come across. But it's peppered in like not an overbearing way because you just did that on the keys. So the Maw is more about like, settling the score kind of thing. And so it's like you remember the paths you took when you were learning the game in the very beginning. So it's like, well, I'm going to weasel around these guys, grenade them. Like I have full confidence in my abilities to play this game. And then they go, hey, do the 4 things that sometimes works. And I remember standing on the thing, chucking grenades, being like, did I get it? Why didn't it blow up? And it has a really hard time of telling me whether or not I was successful. And I know you got to wait for the flaps. And I was shooting it with a rocket launcher because I was like, I am not fucking around. I'm going to use that. The Sentinel guys are not really that big of a deal. They're kind of, they don't do too much damage and they're easy to take out. The part of that was kind of annoying to me was having to take like the same, because they did this like level design thing where they're like, this side will get you up there, and then you have to walk around. But it's like you drop down, then walk that same path again and do it again, then drop down and walk that same path again and do it again. And so it was just like 4 times is too many. Like the rule of 3s that typical games use for jump on their head 3 times and you win. Like they should have just did 3. But I understand they're trying to be symmetrical with the 2 rooms, which makes sense. It was just It was okay. It wasn't really that challenging because the game is basically rewarding me at this point for getting through it this far. Then you get to the car scene and the driving. I was like, the first half of it is a straight shot, I believe. So I'm like, did they just design this ship for me to drive on this? Because it's really kind of weird. I'm not like, I didn't have to turn. Like at first I was turning and stuff, and then I realized like I don't need to do that. I can just go straight. Then the second part is when they're like, you just slam into the wall. You're like, shit, okay, I got to drive around this. Got it. And I remember a lot of people talking about the epic drive on the ship kind of thing. But like when I think back to it, I'm thinking the Halo 3 one, because that one actually feels really crazy. But in a sense, like if you were to say that, like, whenever anybody releases a game, they're hopeful that they'll be able to continue the story, but they don't know. So like they're trying to tell a complete tale in one go. And I think that this is a really nice ending to, if Master Chief never got to do anything else, it would just be like, hey, that was cool as shit. It's like, that's the ship I started on. And then I went down here, blew that bitch up. And then like, we got off this thing, and, that was a crazy journey, and I think that it's a really, condensed adventure with like this super soldier kind of character. And, the Maw is a very nice, just icing on like the cake for the game. Like it's a good exit to the story.
Mm-hmm.
And then now I can say I beat Halo 1. Like,
yeah,
so,
right.
That was another thing. Because I've played all the other ones. Like, I didn't know what the hype was because I didn't really have an Xbox at the time. So, like, just, I always played, because we had LAN parties all the time when I was growing up. And so, like, I played Halo mostly for multiplayer with my friends. I didn't really play, like, the story of it because I wasn't introduced to the story of it. I was introduced to the, like, hey, come over, I got 4 controllers. And it's like, okay. And so it was kind of nice to finally get a chance to like go through it.
Yeah. So, I said wrap up thoughts, I guess. So the game, I guess we'll just go around real quick. You can give it a number if you want, but just general thoughts on how you felt about the game overall when you combine everything between the story, characters, and everything that you the gameplay that you all felt about it, how it was designed and things like that. I mean, I'm a Halo nerd. I'm going to be biased here. I'm always biased, but I think Halo C is probably one of the best first-person shooters ever. Very groundbreaking in what it was. Very well designed. It's one of Bungie's best. I still like Halo 2 and 3 better. I've put more time into them, but I have come back and beaten CE just because I'm like, I just feel like playing Halo CE. I'm just going to do that for a while because I can beat it in like a day or two. It's just fun to come back. It's always fun to play again. I feel like the story was great groundwork for a universe that they can do a lot of stuff with, that they've fucking shit on with the TV show and where they took it in the later games, but whatever. The gameplay, again, really fun that they kept pretty consistent through all the early games till about Reach, and still it started to change for the worst. I haven't picked up on it. I love Halo, but recent modern Halo can kiss my ass. I think Infinite's okay, but 4 and 5 can go die in a fire. But I love Halo C. If I had to give it a number, it'd probably be like a 7 out of 10 because it does have plenty of issues. If I was being completely objective about it, I'd give it about 7 out of 10. But yeah, I really enjoy Halo CE as a complete package. What do you think about Halo CE, Jordan?
That's actually the same on me as well. If I was to say that we're comparing it to anything new nowadays, it's obviously there's some things that could be worked on. But I mean, if we're talking about a game that was made back in 2001, a lot of things that it was able to add to a shooter was very impressive. To know that that's something that's that old, yet I could play it to this day and still be pretty much engaged and happy with it. Obviously, there are some things that needs to work on, but for it to come out and be that well made is pretty amazing. I'm pretty great to say that game can hold up to its time to this day, even at how old it is. It's the graphics and such. looking at how the original is to the now is, yes, there's a lot more in detail by, grain and how the corner edges and such are on the guns and everything, but a lot of the shading and everything they had in it was very well done. It still holds up pretty well. It's pretty easy enough to know that I could sometimes forget, and I believe Corey had said that himself too, where you just you forget that you're in the original or in the update because it's just a lot of similarities between the two, and unless you're really looking for them, because it's just very clean. And actually, in some of the old version, you can see the halo, and then the new one, you can't see shit. It's all clouds. So there's like certain things like a give and take with it. But the actual detail of fighting the Covenant, fighting the Flood, the Sentinels and all that, the weaponry and everything is great. There are some things, again, with the slow bouts of the vehicles, but if we were to just to say that if you're going to have a fun experience, the co-op on it was great. I definitely had a fun time. Yes, we were swearing. I did give up at that level, but like how Udon had said, it was just like you're just being burnt out playing it over in a very long period of time in one go. If we were to say playing it like we had used to back in the day, LAN party, hanging out and having a good time, that was where all of my good feelings that came back from the long time, was just that experience of hanging out with friends, playing Halo, and just having a good time. I mean, if we were to say it, I would say it myself, would probably give it a 7 out of 10. It did very well. There are things that could be worked on, but that was the beginning of how games are been bettered off now from looking at a game like that. That's how they got better, was to figure out how a game could be made, and that was Halo.
All right, Evan, what do you think?
Oh, I thought we were just going down the list. But yeah, so on the modern standpoint, obviously it from like you would play on like the more modern graphics, but at the time the game is nice and it plays very well. But for like playing it yesterday, it is definitely not as much as I like Halo. I would not play the first one just for entertainment. I would rather play literally any other one, including 4 or 5, just because it plays better. I was like, yes, it is an old game, but there is like things that it lacks. 7 out of 10 is a good score for it, but it's also up to like personal taste. Like the whole game is great despite like the constant back and forth and just repeating and constant usage of the assets. You could play in like the old graphics or newer one. That's really up to you. My main issue is just like the qualities of like the controls and like the way everything functions is just what really bothers me, because it's kind of restrictive in strange ways. I was playing it on controller, and it's just like the way on the Master Chief Collection that the input system is very strange. So it's like a lot of the functions that I could use just didn't work very well, so I just ended up not using it. But the whole game in general is just a good game. However, I would not play it for like for entertainment. But it's definitely some. If you were to get into Halo, it is definitely a game that you should play regardless. Like, don't sleep on it. Don't skip it. Just play it at least once, and then you can see how far Halo has come by playing it further from the start, because that is where it began. Despite one of the issues that I had with it is the story is pretty vague. It's kind of like you get like points of it and you just got to fill and make sense of it as you put it together. I just thought that was kind of strange, but I guess it kind of resolves itself in the later games. But I did like it. I liked playing it yesterday, but I would not go back to it.
Yeah, well, if we ever end up doing Halo 4 or 5, you're gonna hear me listen to fucking tear those fucking pieces of shit to shreds.
That's fine, because I'll be busy playing my favorite, which is Reach. So take
Reach
everything that I said with salt if you want.
I like Reach. Reach is decent. That was the last.
Not even a grain of salt. He just said take it with salt.
Salt, just a whole hunk of salt.
As much as
Corey. Yeah. All right,
Okay.
Corey.
You know, like going through the game in one sitting, it's it, I don't want to hold it up to modern gaming standards because there's a lot of things I wish I had. I wish I had sprinting. I wish that I could cook grenades and throw them. It's like more weapons, blah blah blah. But knowing that it's a product of its time, and it's a revolutionary title in general, specifically for Xbox, because it kind of helped put Xbox on the map. Because if Xbox didn't have a bang, when you think of Xbox, you think of Master Chief. He is the icon of Xbox, and for this game needed to be this way, and so I think it really delivered on all aspects. It had multiplayer, LAN parties, co-op campaign, and it was a really interesting product because we didn't really have first person shooters on console like this. Of course, like we did have 4-player GoldenEye, and I know I brought that up earlier, but you know Master Chief and it is like a character became super iconic, and it was because this game was like a showstopper for a lot of people that wanted to have the new console. And I had a lot of fun despite all of the bullshit playing it. I think if you look at it in modern game standards, it's like, of course, it walked so that Halo 3 could run type of thing. And it's I would say maybe 8 out of 10 if we're going that way. It's a very concise idea that comes across. The level design is not terrible, but it works, and it has multi paths for most of the levels. The sound design is really good. I forgot sometimes that I wasn't playing the remaster version, so it's the graphics, though dated, do hold up. And that's probably due to the indie scene, the indie games that are imitating N64 games and PS1 games and stuff like that. So, like, these graphics are not unfamiliar to modern audiences now. So it's kind of a nice pick up and go, like, oh shit, this came out in 2001. This wasn't an indie game somebody made like last year. So it's really nice to like go through it, and I enjoyed it. I do recommend that if anybody is a fan of Halo and they haven't played the very first one, you should probably play the very first one. It is the equivalent, I guess, of like a Mega Man X for first person shooters, because you could just pick it up and beat it. And I like Mega Man X a lot, so it's like, would I go back and play Halo 1? Maybe. If I was bored one day and that just happened to be the game that came to mind. I have a vast library of games, and so I probably won't play it again anytime soon, but I wouldn't be mad if I had to.
Alrighty. Well, a lot of pretty positive stuff, obviously, with its own issues, but just gonna try and wrap it up here because we've been talking for a long time now, but I feel like that's fine for a special episode. Like I said, we're gonna try and do this for
Once a month.
Yeah, once a month. We haven't decided what the next one's going to be. Maybe an indie game, maybe something else. But we'll figure it out. Until then, the other 3 episodes we'll do a month leading up to that. Will just be, whatever topic we felt like doing that month. If we feel like, maybe theming it, who knows. But aside from that, did we have any trivia today, Jordan, or are we just going to wrap up?
I would say we just wrap it up because the questions I had was pretty much answered with the amount of detail that was given on this breakdown today. So I really think it would be a no-brainer win on this. So I think that we would just go through and just wrap it up.
I also would like to, thank Udon for hosting the Halo edition of our like long-form breakdown of a game. It's our first one. And it was really fun. Even though we did talk for a very long time, I think that this was very informative. And, I think it really kind of emphasizes the name of our podcast. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah, this was a great idea.
Yeah, I thought it was fun, and like I said, we'll try and stick to the month thing. So hopefully, some people won't drive themselves crazy trying to do it all in one night again. But
well, we
yeah.
did have this idea like a week and a half ago. I think
It was 3 weeks ago, my man. You had time.
That's not a full month, but
The call last night, you know.
we just happened to all be playing it yesterday.
Yeah.
But I finished it. You know.
I mean, I finished it too, way faster and easier because I knew how to fuck over the game. But, anyways, but yeah, this was fun, and I guess I'll leave it to Jordan to give us his outro. I suppose I'm not going to take that over, but that was fun.
Well, I appreciate it, and thank you so much again. Check us out on social media for updates on game.